Now I'm no longer held back by games I recorded 3 years ago. Next is the first game I recorded for the show in 2021, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. My grandmother had this on the Xbox back when it was new, so I got to watch her play it quite a bit. This is the Switch version I'm recording. Apart from displaying in HD, I don't think there are many significant differences. I only played certain parts that she had trouble with, and those moments were few, so this is my first time playing the game through myself. When we start the game, our first scene is this old monkey guy telling two of us that some prophesied darkness will soon descend on them and they need to prepare. These two are his most worthy apprentices, Sphinx, the player character, and some bird guy, Horus. Then my recording corrupted mid-sentence for a bit. What you're missing is Imhotep, the master, saying he will transport them to the land of Uruk where they'll need to find the blade of Osiris. When the footage comes back in, he's teleporting them. A huge castle can be seen in the distance, the castle of Uruk. Then I get another slight corruption which cuts back in as he points out the glowing beam in the sky. That should be the last time that happens. The light protects the castle and surrounding area. While there will be traps and obstacles around, Imhotep says that the ray is the most dangerous. Beyond this point his powers don't work, so he'll have to leave us to it, saying on his way out that we'll need to work together to find the blade of Osiris. Horus thinks he sees something in a rock structure nearby and says in the meantime I should check out this area. Right now I have no form of attack, I can only jump and pick things up. First thing I find is a plant that explodes in my face as I get near. I just run forward a bit and climb up to this geyser that the game stomps me at to say it needs additional lava flow to blow. I keep moving further down to find a lava fall and Horus on a higher up ledge. He shouts me to get over to him so he can show me something. I fail my first attempt at jumping across the platforms in the lava and burn up. Luckily being incinerated with no trace remaining only does a point of damage. I jump across to the other side to Horus to point out that he's too high up for me. This leads him to the conclusion that Sphinx is holding him back. Why are all anthropomorphic birds in video games arrogant arseholes? It goes on alone and leaves me, in time for a large worm thing to rise from some of the lava a little back. I go to it and step on its tongue, making it swallow me and spit me out. He's hungry, but not enough to eat Sphinx. He wants a coconut, which grew on the nearby trees. I fumble around a lot, not knowing how to get them down until I accidentally pass a rock that the game tells me I can pick up. So I throw them at the trees to knock them down. Once I've picked up all 3 coconuts in the area, I hand them over. In exchange, I can get on his tongue to make him spit me in the direction I want him to. So I get in his mouth and have him spit me onto the cliff Horus was talking down to me from. Turns out in all that time, he only took about 5 steps into the cave. He's found the blood of Ra, which will allow me to walk on lava, but he can't get to it thanks to all the exploding flowers around it. I pick up a nearby rock and blow them up with it. Flowers destroyed with rocks don't grow back. My main weakness here is muscle memory. The button used to pick up the rocks only drops them, not throws them. Since this is so similar to a Zelda game, I keep running forward and pressing the pickup button like in those, only to just gently place the rock on the ground. As soon as I destroy them all, Horus walks by and comes out with some excuses as to why he didn't think of a solution first. He uses the blood of Ra and goes off on his own again. I use the blood myself for a temporary shield and can now run on the lava flow all those platforms are coming from. At the end is this statue I can grab and pull away from this trench to divert the lava flow to get this geyser going. I go back to get the blood of Ra again and run over to said geyser to be launched higher up. I take a couple more geysers up to the top of this cave entrance. In front of it is this mechanical eyeball thing that sees me and then closes off the entrance. I drop down and hang on to this rail off the edge of the cliff. As soon as I'm out of its view, it opens up the entrance. I climb back up when it's looking away and run inside. In there is another one that closes me off from going in deeper. Throwing a rock at it will stun it for a bit, letting me move on. I end up outside again for that smug bird prick to shout me over to this cave entrance higher up. He tells me to throw a rock at this animal warren. Nearby is a huge boulder tied up still with ropes. I do as Horus says and a slim burble reveals itself. These become explosive when angered. They'll glow red and lunge in your direction. I lead them to all these ropes to make them explode on them. Removing them all makes the boulder roll towards the lava flow, giving me something I can use to cross and reach my first sacred statue, which allows me to save the game. Next to said statue I can climb this wall, dodging the spiders on the way to reach the spot where Horus was, who's run off ahead again. I dodge a couple eye lasers on the walls and then Horus explains climbing along a rail to me. There's a couple eyes to avoid here as well. After that it's running along this cave until I'm back outside. Jump across a couple platforms and climb a rope to finally catch up with Horus again. You can see the blade of Osiris over on a rock pinnacle, but you can't see a way to reach it. There's a cave nearby with one of those statues I can pull to create a lava flow that makes 2 platforms rise from a hole near the pinnacle. Horus thanks Sphinx for his efforts and makes a run for the blade, but when he reaches the second bridge, the ray from the castle starts charging. It destroys the bridge, dropping Horus into the lava below, but he's saved by a passing rock. But thankfully that rock takes him over a lava fall, so I never have to deal with him again. Other games should kill their arrogant arsehole birds off in the first 20 minutes. I cross the bridge, but since the second bridge is gone now, I have to go to the left and take this zip line across. Then it's just a straightforward walk to those platforms and I can get up to the blade of Osiris. Now I finally have a way to fight. Imhotep projects himself to Sphinx, telling him that taking the sword has alerted those in the castle of Uruk. He tells me that in the caves before the first bridge is a magical portal that was once used by the gods. Years earlier he hid a portal amulet on a ledge on the portal chamber's exterior. Getting it will let Sphinx return to Imhotep's temple. I dropped down and ran over to this statue with a laser gate behind it, smashing the statue to get rid of the lasers. They were guarding more blood of Ra, which lets me get back to the other side and go through that cave. Now I can just whack those eyeball things and keep moving. I leave this cave and enter another where a gate shuts behind me. I open the chest in here for a mysterious amulet. This can also be used at the portal. Grabbing it also opens these cages, releasing the spiders inside. One might just grab my head, but they only take a few hits to kill. Getting rid of them opens the gate forward. I whack the lantern on the ceiling here for a single gold scarab. These are the game's main currency. What follows is a ridiculous backtrack to whack all the lanterns I can get to at the moment. About 5 minutes for an extra 3 scarabs. Let's skip that. I leave the cave on the other side to find this Eye of Ra post that is heavily worn, so I lure a slim burble over to it and make it explode to create a bridge. Hitting these trees on the other side for another scarab also makes this snake drop down, but it doesn't get to do anything before I kill it. Then at the entrance to the next cave is this weird skeletal thing that also doesn't get to try much. In the cave I'm blocked by an eyeball thing and its gates. These are called Set's Eyes, by the way. I swing over the gates on this rope and take out the mummy sandworm thing on the other side. Then I can just follow the cave until I'm outside again. There's a series of platforms to jump across, with lava bubbles also jumping up through the gaps to hinder me. They're not too much trouble though, and I reach this tower. There are 4 targets for me to jump attack, to really make sure I've got the concept of pressing jump and then attack. Hitting all 4 creates a platform that rises to a higher level. I smash another statue to create a bridge to the portal chamber's exterior. I head over to where Imhotep hid the portal amulet, but the ray from the castle charges again and blasts Sphinx inside. Imhotep shows up to rub in that I'm stuck in here with the wrong amulet. The only remaining choice is to use the mysterious amulet instead, despite not knowing where it would send him. I stand in the circle and offer the mysterious amulet to the portal god. It teleports Sphinx and the game fades out. We then fade in on a new guy, Prince Tutankhamun, being awoken on his birthday by a servant. Everyone in the castle is busy preparing for his birthday ceremony. She also says that Lady Nefertiti is waiting for him in the courtyard. So this is actually the first thing I saw of this game as a kid. And until finally playing this whole thing by myself, I'd always thought that Tut and Sphinx were the same person, just after a change of clothes. I thought this moment was how the game started, and the entire outskirts of Uruk section was completely new to me. Tut's big unique thing is his ability to crawl. Running around his bedroom I bump into this flower pot and break it, upsetting the servant. I change Tut out of his pyjamas and open this wardrobe to find an old amulet. The other wardrobe here is locked. I then get told I can push and pull this table. I knock over another flower pot and get told I can move these statues too. The one on the left has another old amulet behind it. I break the last 2 flower pots to really upset the servant and swap these clothes out for a blue version. One wardrobe here has a huge lock on it and the last one has the courtyard key inside. That's all I can do in here, so I go through the door to the courtyard. I get to see an advisor talking to Nefertiti and learn that Tut has already asked her to marry him. But said advisor thinks that's a bad idea and tries to push her towards her brother, Akhenaten, before walking off, leaving some paper on the floor. Nefertiti goes to grab it, only for the wind to blow it up to a higher floor. I don't actually start off in the courtyard proper though, but in this hallway. Here I can talk to the prince's aunt. She's been collecting old amulets lately under orders from Akhenaten, who wants to store them in the treasure room. I give her the ones I already have, but there are still 6 left. Behind her I pull out this statue to open a small hole in the wall. His aunt says it's one of the many old secret corridors hidden around the castle. This one's been blocked off though. I go to the opposite corridor from where I entered, only for a guard to block me from the door and tell me to go find Nefertiti in the courtyard. So I lock the door opposite from the secret corridor. I run into the advisor on the way to the door to the courtyard and go through it. I first smash the flower pots because why not, and go talk to Nefertiti. She tells me about that letter that got blown away and wants me to get it for her. So I climb the ladder and find I'm gated off from the rest of the floor. But I can sneak along the edges in front of the fences though. I reach the other side and run for that bird with the letter, but it flies off. I push this plinth that used to hold a flower pot and jump over the gate. I keep chasing the bird until it drops down near Nefertiti and then drops a letter for me to pick up. I hand it over to her. She wants to talk about the letter, but someone might be listening, so she wants to meet up outside the palace later. She says there are things he needs to know and that he should be careful. With business in the courtyard done, I go back inside. The door I was being blocked off from before I can now enter. In this next room I meet Akhenaten. He's a bit of a dick, and also sounds resentful that no one goes through to the same efforts for his birthdays. The door directly across from where I entered is locked, so I go up the stairs instead and talk to this servant. She says that Akhenaten has been having them decorate the palace with these sarcophagi for some reason. I go through the door next to her into the dining hall. The second wardrobe on the right has my 3rd old amulet inside it. I then jump on the table and start smashing shit while a servant begs me to stop. I don't. In the back left corner I can pull out a statue with her 4th old amulet. Pulling the one in the right corner removes this grate blocking a tunnel behind the throne. I move the throne and crawl inside while the guy nearby tells me it isn't safe. In this dungeon I run to the other side and crawl under a fence to pull a lever that opens a gate. Through that gate I pull another lever that rotates the wall. In this new room we overhear the advisor, Menez, telling Akhenaten that he believes Nefertiti has the letter. This prompts Akhenaten to decide they need to speed up their plans involving the sarcophagi. Menes will leave a spare sarcophagus key here in case they need one. The two then laugh over the unexpected birthday surprise they have planned for Tutankhamun. Right after they leave, I pull out this nearby statue for my 5th old amulet and then I take the sarcophagus key. The door here is locked from the other side, so I go back the way I came. I get an earful from the old guy when I return, but don't pay him any attention. There's a sarcophagus in the dining hall, so I use the key to get inside. I end up coming out of another high up above the throne. I jump across to the right side of the room and get in the sarcophagus there to warp to the point higher up and just right at the room's entrance. I can then climb across to this chest containing my 6th old amulet, just 2 left. I have no health to worry about, so I just let myself fall from that height. I next try the left side of the room and climb along to another sarcophagus. This one takes me to another secret tunnel. In the ear is a chest with my 7th old amulet, but I just push this statue in the middle to fall down into a hole leading to the other tunnel. I leave the dining hall and go into the first sarcophagus I saw, without the cleaner even questioning it. This puts me back in the tunnel, but lets me grab this chest I couldn't get otherwise, containing the wardrobe key. With this I can go through the door here to exit back into Tut's bedroom through one of the locked wardrobes. I use the key to unlock the other and then go inside. In here I pull a lever to rotate the wall to another section. I climb this ladder, sneak along a pillar and drop down to a chest containing the final old amulet. From there I climb across some more pillars to reach the exit. It leads me back to the room outside the dining hall. I go back to Aunt Setit and give her the amulets. She asks me to lead them in the treasure room because she's too tired from standing still doing fuck all while I look for them to go do it herself. She gives me the treasure room key. It unlocks the door down the stairs below the dining hall. Inside, it's a mess. Someone's managed to break in and empty the place, the only thing remaining being a sarcophagus. Despite the old guy telling me not to go near it, I get in it anyway. Akhenaten and Menes have an army ready to invade the castle using all the sarcophagi they've had installed. Just in time for Tut to walk in and get captured. It fades out and we return to Sphinx to see where he ended up. I run opposite from the portal, breaking some vases for scarabs on the way and go through the door. We then see Tut tied to a table while Menes performs a ritual. Nefertiti is forced to watch while crying. A beam hits him and transfers his spirit into these floating vases, but back to Sphinx. Going forward there's a huge pit and 2 posts with empty slots on the other side. So I go up this ladder, I take a swinging rope to the other side and pull this lever to start moving platforms, raise a platform on one side and lower one on another. I did it too early though, so I pull it again to pull them back, pick up this skeleton in a cage and place it on the right platform. I then lower the lever again to lift it up and place it here so I can grab onto a ledge and reach a higher section. Hitting all 3 lanterns here opens up the wall and leads to a statue that I break for a glyph key. I throw the cage onto the platform on the left side and pull the lever again to lift it. I repeat the process on that side to gain a second glyph key. I place them both in those slots to get another rope moving that I ride over the pit to the other side. Here are 4 differently coloured buttons that I have to press in the right order. It's trial and error. The game makes a sound when I press the right button and a different one when it's wrong. Or I could just press a centre button to show the correct order, as I find out. The correct order ends up being red, blue, green, yellow, green, red. This lets me destroy the gate to the next room. In here are 4 targets. I can hit the first 2 but the others are too high up. But pulling on this rope drops another cage I can stand on to reach them. Hitting all 4 targets removes this barrier and lowers some ropes in the previous room. I can't move forward thanks to rows of spikes, so I turn back. I climb up the rope left from the entrance and climb along the ledge past some spikes to a switch that removes 1 row of spikes. I do the same on the left side to get rid of the other. I cross those spikes and keep moving into another cutscene. The ritual has reduced Tutankhamun to a mummified corpse. Before the final touches can be performed, Menes centers Sphinx's presence. Akhenaten demands he be destroyed before he can interrupt the ceremony, so Menes starts another spell. Back with Sphinx, I get attacked by this skeleton with a scythe. He doesn't get to try much before a few hits deal with it. The other one I get to work on before it can even finish animating. I just do a lap around this room, taking out the rest of the skeletons that attack me. Destroying them all creates a bridge to the centre of the room. I open up the door here to obtain the shield of Osiris. If equipped, it does what you would expect a shield to do. You can also aim it. I've now hit a dead end, so I backtrack all the way to the portal room. To the left of the portal is a door guarded by a laser beam that destroys you if you get close. I have to block the ray and then when it stops to recharge, run right through. In here I can hear Menes chanted. I run around and find a rope to cut. This drops a gigantic amulet being used for the ritual, cutting it off early. Akhenaten demands Menes turns it off before it explodes, but seconds later it starts sucking them in. Not just them, those vases we saw earlier get dragged in, along with Tut's corpse. Then it explodes. The remaining energy reanimates the 3 followers of Akhenaten who all move on Nefertiti before Sphinx intervenes. They've got flaming sticks and take less hits to kill than the skeletons did. Seeing Nefertiti crying over her boyfriend's death, Sphinx rocks up with the smuggiest expression on his face. The vase with part of his soul inside is all that remains of him. She lets Sphinx have it in the hope that he may be able to use it and bring him back. After Sphinx takes the canopic vase, she also gives him an amulet Tut once gave her. Imhotep projects himself, saying Sphinx needs to meet him in Heliopolis as soon as possible, since the whole situation just rubs him the wrong way and they need to find the source of the enemy's power before it gets too strong. He says that the portal amulet Nefertiti gave him can get him out of the palace. Meanwhile, he will help Nefertiti escape from the palace and from the game itself. We will not see her again after this scene. Finally, he gives me a gold Ankh. These are the heart containers of the game, increasing my maximum health by 1 Ankh. I return to the portal and use the Abydos amulet I was given to walk to Abydos. For some reason they built their portal in a sewer. There's a fenced off section I can't do anything with just yet, all I can do is leave through the door. I climb up the ladder next to the door and chat to this bird guy. I get to learn that the water surrounding Abydos is electrified. The city was doing extremely well until the electric eels arrived. I enter this square and throw off this juggler's concentration out of spite. To the right from where I entered is a guy who lost his wife's pearl necklace and the replacement he bought is missing 3 pearls. So if I find any Abydosian pearls, I should bring them to him. To the left still is this rail going around the outside of the city walls. I drop down and keep following the wall to find a vase I can smash containing the first pearl. There's also a rail I can grab to the right of the guy. He has a second pearl in a jar. Back into the centre, I jump down the well. It puts me on the other side of that fence in the sewer. Swimming to the bottom of the water eye landing gets me an old key, and climbing this ladder gets me the last Abydosian pearl and another vase. The key is used for unlocking the gate so I can leave. I give the man the pearls and in return I get the key that opens the door to the upper walkway. First I go through the door a little to the right of him. This is the Corridor of Champions, where a crocodile man can challenge me to a few gauntlets. But before I can try one, I have to pass a test. I have to return that diamond behind the fence to him in less than 20 seconds. The problem is I simply cannot do it right now. The fence is too high up, I can't jump over it and there's nothing to stand on for a boost, so I fail. Back outside, in this corner is a vase that drops green scarabs when destroyed. These are worth 5 gold scarabs each. Near this vase is another building I can enter. This is a museum. On the left, a guard blocks off the Hall of Jewels for not being ready yet, so I just give up, ignore everything else he said, and leave. I go and lock the door with that key so I can reach the upper walkway. I follow the path around and enter the first door I find. This is Montu's monster shop. I can buy or sell monsters here. I can't catch monsters yet, so all I can do is buy, and I can't even afford the cheapest one right now. But the cheapest is 70 scarabs and I'm 10 off, so I go back outside the museum to get them. I can then enter and leave the museum to farm 10 scarabs at a time. I first buy the small frog for 70 scarabs and the rat for 100 scarabs, then it's back to farming. My next purchase is a shell critter for 360 scarabs. I decide to leave the grind for now and move further into the city. Taking a right turn takes me to this beggar. I give him 10 of my 20 remaining scarabs for now and go into the building next to him. The guy inside says I can't play the game there until I have a blowpipe. Moving further on is another one I can enter. In here is a mystical sequence game costing 5 scarabs per attempt. This is pretty much just the one I did earlier in Luxor Dungeon. Same 4 colours, just have to press them in the right order. Getting them all right awards me double the money I paid and allows me to play an intermediate game for 10 scarabs. It's the same but harder. Once again I win double what I paid and can now play the expert game for 20 scarabs. Once again, it's even harder. This time I win 45 scarabs, 5 more than double the amount I paid. It also awards me the Medal of Sequencers. Right now it does nothing, but I'll have a use for it later. I then go straight back to farming scarabs. After about 15 minutes I have the 300 scarabs to buy a mummy bird. That's the last of these monsters I can buy for now, as the rest cost more than my current 400 scarab cap. Now it's time to check out the rest of the museum, finally. Heading straight forward from the entrance takes me to another room where the Mayor of Abydos is opening the first hall of the museum. While he's talking up all the history it will showcase, we see someone whispering to one of the Mayor's sketchy underlings, who tells him they have to cut the ceremony short. Their jewel collection has been stolen a few minutes ago. All this bad stuff happening to the city is taking its toll on the Mayor. The only thing that remains in the collection is a sarcophagus, which confuses the Mayor because there wasn't one in the collection. So he and his staff leave for their council chambers to discuss it further. The bird guy on the left tells me they'll reward anyone who can return any of the stolen jewels. But right now it's the guy on the right I'm wanting. He wants to complete a wildlife exhibit of all animals in the world. This is what I was buying those monsters for. The rooms around here already have a few animals I'm not capable of capturing already on display, such as the electric eels that are surrounding the city. I start by handing over the mummy bird. As a reward for donating my first animal, I'm given a zipline handle. I can now ride down any zipline around the city just by jumping into it. I then donate the rat, shell critter and small frog before I get going again. Past the beggar, I cross this bridge and at the other end find I can't go any further without identification. In the middle of the bridge I can zipline down to this boat. It's owned by Khonsu, who will give me a ride to Heliopolis for 25 scarabs. I don't go just yet. On the opposite side I can zipline to another bridge and drop down to a door I can't enter right now. I return to the beggar and give him 20 more scarabs. For 30 total he gives me a gold Ankh piece. These are like the heart pieces in Zelda, 4 of them to make a whole. Near the square on the upper walkway is a zipline taking me to a vase with a red scarab inside. These are worth 10. At this point I finally take the boat ride to Heliopolis. Meanwhile, we finally get to see what happened to the others. Akhenaten, Menez and Tutankhamun's corpse were teleported to the castle of Uruk. Without Tut's life energy, he's useless to them, so they have his corpse thrown in jail. Losing their warping amulets has also slowed down their plans. It's at this point we learn that Akhenaten is an imposter using his shape. He'll explain that Tut died in an accident and gained power in Luxor. He reveals his true shape and says that he also knows Sphinx is a student of Imhotep. No one knows he's even involved in this, which he believes he can use to throw off Sphinx and Imhotep. After that scene, I arrive at Heliopolis. Once a great kingdom, now a wasteland. Khonsu thinks I was safer in Abydos and sets off back there immediately. To the left is a temple with a worn down dogman outside. He says Heliopolis was great until the god Anubis got involved. He cursed his brother and everyone else in the cursed palace. He also planted Eye of Ra posts around the desert, along with making the soil infertile. While he complains, the camera moves to show me Anubis' temple. Nearby is a little pedestal with an image of the bird that I can't do anything with yet. On my way to the temple is a zip line that's too high up for me to reach with a jump. There's also these big skull rock things I can't do anything with yet. I go through the temple entrance and oh fucking hell, why aren't you dead? He thinks the blade of Osiris should be his because if he had a better sense of self-preservation he'd have grabbed it first. Well, tough. He also thinks I'm not good enough because I can't jump up to the level he's on. He says Imhotep is waiting for me in the temple on Sunshrine Island. While I go to him, he brags about how he'll solve the Anubis problem. While I smash these vases, a fiery skeleton thing lunges at me on fire. I lure it over to this wooden box to burn it away and grab the eagle stone inside. I could now summon a great eagle when standing on those pedestals, so I return to the one earlier and use it. I get picked up by the eagle and it carries me over the post and drops me on this cliff. I climb a rope higher up and see a huge boulder held on a wooden platform. Running past it to the top of this hill takes me to a tower with a sign written in a language I can't understand. There's another pedestal between the boulder and tower that I used to get carried over to the western side of this area. The sign here points me in the direction of South Beach and Sunshrine Island, but some rocks are blocking the path. Nearby is a hole that spawns slim burbles. I lead one up to the rocks to destroy them and go through to South Beach. There's a dog guy here who will challenge me to a swimming course. I just have to swim through all his checkpoints. It's pretty simple, even if some are a bit sneaky by having the next checkpoint spawn off screen, risking me wasting time looking for it. When I finish, I'm told I finished it in under 71 seconds and won a prize. He gives me the crocodile scales that allow me to swim faster underwater. To the left of the swimmer is a tent with a vase inside that I can smash for an atunai. Remember those skull things in the previous area? I can use it with those. There's a couple in here who don't care about me breaking their ship. Sunshrine Island is this one with a Sphinx not the character on it. The crocodile scales really make swimming to it much faster. Once I reach it, I go inside. Imhotep is meditating, waiting for me. As you can see, I also grabbed the shield of Osiris while I was in Uruk. He's very interested in the canopic vase I brought back. It's been a while for him, but he may be able to release the soul trapped inside. Imhotep can sense Tutankhamun in the castle of Uruk. If he can be revived, it will be a big help since no one has managed to get inside before. However, no living thing can get through the castle's protection to reach him, so he enchants a nearby basket to come to life. Fade out to the castle of Uruk. We see Tut's corpse in jail with many other remains. The basket, simply known as Basket and looking very much like a rare character, approaches the corpse. He uses the canopic vase to transfer the piece of Tut's soul into his body. He comes to life and Basket explains what's going on. He says that Tut's only hope is to help them out so they can understand the significance of the castle and who's behind it all. He has to explore the castle looking for any clues or objects that would help Sphinx out in making him human again. Basket then fades out, leaving him to it. All I can do here is jump on this hanging cage and then to a ladder out of the room. One benefit to Tut being dead is that he can't take damage and thus can't die again. I jump from cage to rail to another cage to another rail to one last cage to a door. This next room contains the Rave utterly failed at killing Horus. There's also these moving metal rods with spiked balls on the end that I can jump between and ride up out of this hole into the area Akhenaten and Menez were speaking last time we saw them. Speaking of Menez, he's telling the guards to make sure that all the traps are working so no one can get in the castle. He leads through this door which is guarded by a set side that shuts the doors when it spots me. There's also this one on the opposite side that does the same. Each door that can be shut has a nearby switch that opens it again. It's that second door opposite the first that I need to enter, as the set side guarding the first is too quick to sneak past. The door shuts behind me and the camera spans to show the area I have to work out the puzzle to. Where I start, there are two cages and a turned off electrical device. In the water on the left is a set of bars keeping me from a chest. In the middle of the water is another item barred off from me. This leaves just a door on the right which leads to a chest. As I go to open it, it falls through the floor to be replaced by a giant spiked electric ball. It shocks Tut and electrifies him. The nearby sarcophagus advises him to use electricity to his advantage. However, I lose it when I make contact with water. To not touch water, I drag these platforms on the floor to make a path back to the main area. I then touch the ball again and jump across the platform so I can touch the device from before and power it. This makes the first stolen Abydos jewel appear in the centre. The floor in the middle then closes around me and catapults me into a door higher up. The door opens and lets me in, allowing me to alert a set side that opens and closes the floor behind it repeatedly. I choose to drop through the floor when I see a chest, but before I can do anything, the walls close in and crush me, completely flattening me. It also turns out that the chest was a trap, since it disappears whenever you get close. I head backwards and through the door. Being flattened allows me to walk through bars like these. I backtrack to where I dropped from and cross the floor, using the grooves in the wall to keep myself from falling. It leads to another door that locks behind me. I can grab onto this in front of the door, but it doesn't do anything for me right now. I drop down to the right and enter this room that electrifies me, and then jump across these platforms to activate them and make them rise. I can jump off the third, go through this corridor, and desperately avoid the water as I jump for the next platform. This also turns on the spinning platforms in front of me. These take me to another device to activate. It does nothing right now though, so I return to get electrified and take on the left side of the room. The layout is almost the same, but with a second spinning platform instead of the rising water. Turning on both devices has the rail moving, so I grab it and ride to the other end where I can open this chest for the Lunar Planetarium Key. The game tells me it looks similar to the shrine in the central hall. Grabbing it unlocks the door and lets me leave. I return to the central hall and while flat, go through the bars to the chest on the left side of the room. The chest contains the exit key. Behind it is a lever that opens the gate blocking me from this item. Said item is the Solar Planetarium Key. Taking it shuts down the cannon. I put the Lunar Key in its place and it activates again. However, it shoots me to a different section. Through this door I set off another set side that gets the platforms behind it moving. It also sets off 3 lasers I have to avoid on those platforms by either jumping or crouching. But I hit the red one which sets me on fire. This is useful. First I burn away this wooden fence blocking my progress. Next is these wooden cages that have been lying around. They contain onyx scarabs which can only be used in a certain place. Backtracking and getting all the scarabs I've been walking past gets me a total of 70 onyx scarabs. I return to where I burned that fence and go through the door. I jump off this platform without being able to see where I'm going and narrowly avoid water. This is good because there's more onyx scarabs to burn out near me. I jump onto this thing behind the cage and my fire extends a bridge from the entrance. To the left of that one is a lever that makes a platform rise back up to the entrance with water. On the right side I move more platforms to make a path to another wooden fence. I return on fire and burn through the fence to another lever. This one rotates a central tower to make other sections available. Taking my new path on the bottom, there's another of those cage things powered by fire. But the platform that gets me to it is below water. The solution is these statues in the back. Pulling the right one makes that platform rise, and pulling the left one makes one on that side rise. I get in the cage on the right to extend a bridge above it. I pull the previous lever again to put the tower back to how it was, so I can get in the cage there too for another bridge above that. I use the lever again and this time get on the tower from the upper section. I jump onto the bridge and get to the right side. I sneak across the wall, avoiding the spikes, and jump back across to the tower to find the opposite side was hiding a chest. This one gives me the Earth Planetarium Key. That's all for here, as both sides on the upper level lead to the same place. I return to the area with the first electrifying ball and get in the sarcophagus. There's a fence behind it that I can't reach without the electricity going off at least once, so hiding helps me avoid it and stay on fire. I burn the fence and pull the lever to lower the fence blocking the exit. I then swap the Lunar Key for the Earth Key. This time the cannon shoots me to the exit and I can use the key. Behind it is a chest with the wings of Ibis inside. By the way, Todd is far more expressive and compelling dead than he was alive. He turns and struts away, but his life force runs out and he drops dead and returns to jail. Basket returns to Sphinx and Imhotep and hands over the stolen jewel and wings of Ibis. Imhotep tells me to keep Basket and lets me know that if I had the Book of the Dead, I could send him back to Tut whenever I find another canopic vase. Imhotep believes the book is in the Cursed Palace, so I should go speak to Anubis about it. The wings of Ibis allow me to do a double jump, the jumping off of their kind, not the Mario kind. I also got those onyx scarabs too. When I leave and swim back to the beach, I place my one Atun eye into this eye socket near the tent. Khonsu is on the beach and I have him send me back to Abydos. First thing I do is return to the museum and hand in that stolen jewel, the Jewel of Shu. As thanks I'm given a gold Ankh piece. Next I return to the Corridor of Champions. Now I can double jump, I can easily grab the diamond and bring it back in less than half the time limit. I can now play the Gauntlet for 10 scarabs. I have to dodge the moving walls, smash all the statues and reach the end within the time limit. I have 100 seconds and this one is very easy. The walls are thin and just require simply moving towards the holes, sometimes jumping. The statues are all low down and just require jumping to reach and there's 2 on each side. I manage it on my first try with just over 48 seconds remaining. For my time, I'm awarded 30 scarabs. Completing that lets me try Gauntlet 2. This time the first 2 statues are higher up and we have some more complex walls. I also have 200 seconds for this one. The key to the higher statues are these large walls with staircases. I climb up and wait for it to take me to the groove for the statue. That one statue did take a quarter of my time though. I get the other one on the left easy enough, and then wait for the first staircase where the stairs start on the left so I can jump to the third statue. With the third one down, I still have just 100 seconds for the last one, which can be got from the ground easy enough. After that I run to the end and finish with 68 seconds remaining. I win another 30 scarabs. Not done yet though, I now have Gauntlet 3. This one is the hardest. The statues are at all the same height as Gauntlet 2, but now there's a bigger variety of more complex obstacles. I now have 300 seconds. Simple walls are gone and now replaced with things like corridors I have to run through while I'm being dragged towards the back. The first time I fail when I get dragged into the pit in the back. This one takes me quite a few attempts. The main issue is waiting for a set of stairs high enough to reach the first two statues with. Add to that, even after getting them, a lot of these moving rooms are good time wasters, dragging you back quite a distance if you get one of the more annoying ones. Not to mention when you think you can just get to the lower statues or the exit, but one of them just pushes you out of the way at the last second, making you waste time finding the entrance and then the time it takes to get through. Double jumping is helpful too, as you're not on the floor being dragged back. I managed to finish this one with 37 seconds remaining. The price of clearing all 3 gauntlets is the Medal of Champions. With that done, I have Khonsu ride me back to Heliopolis. Outside Anubis' temple there's a zipline I need a double jump to use. It takes me to a switch requiring the slam by pressing attack after a double jump. It creates a bridge to a part of the game I definitely do remember as a kid, because this obstacle course this guy challenges me to, my grandmother could never complete in time, so she'd have me try it, and it still took me a while back then. The only rule of this course is that I fail if I fall into water. It starts with a boring climb up a ladder, then jump into a rope and climbing to the top, zip line down to another platform, ride the rail across very slowly while nothing happens and you lose time, let go too early and fall into water. Next time drop on the platform, slam the switch and thanks to camera placement not realise the platform behind me moving up until it's too late and I lose time waiting for it to come back down. Then not see where I'm supposed to jump to, give up and jump in the water. Next time jump onto a boardwalk, swing across to another, climb a rope to the top and ride the final zip line down to the finish. My first success is a time of 81 seconds. It's quite hard to cut down time, it's just a case of jumping quicker and not turning as wide while running. It takes me nearly 10 more minutes to knock 3 seconds off my first time, getting 78 and breaking the record. He gives me a gold Ankh piece. Well, 10 to 15 minutes is a lot quicker than the hour or so I remember it taking me when I was 11. Now it's time to finally reach that platform at the Temple of Anubis. I slam the switch to open the door and head inside. In this first room I have to fight 3 of these imp things that like to fly and kick me a lot. They move quickly too, so it's a pain to catch them with my sword. They also shrink when you do hit them. I get lucky and kill 2 with the same attack and the last one goes down soon after. This opens a door into the huge main central room. I cross the bridge and 2 of the fiery skeleton rats spawn. I start by leading them up the bridge to these cages to burn them. It's only money, but they're all permanently destructible items, so I've got to get them all. One of the 3 does contain a required Glyph Key too. I cross the bridge again and try to insert it, but the game doesn't pause in these menus, allowing the enemies to beat me down and kill me. When was the last time I saved? Before trying the gauntlets, so I have to do all 3 of those again and the obstacle course record. One change is that I put my one eye to an eye in this skull near the Cursed Palace. 20 minutes later I'm back and I can finally put that key in. It activates a lift to the next level. I also save here, making absolutely sure I don't have to repeat all that again. There's this big green statue I can pick up, but for now I cross this bridge and it's another colour sequence game. Getting it right makes this door glow and I can smash it. It leads to a chest containing the blowpipe. Continuing the Zelda comparisons, this is the bow, but it has infinite ammo. I also pull the lever in here to extend a bridge at the other end of this room. I'll even use the blowpipe to shoot these 2 targets on either end of the room. Both of them activate a moving platform and bring it to this end. I grab that statue and carry it to the left one. Apparently supposed to throw them on, but I got lucky and landed on it when I ran off the edge. I then shoot the target again to bring the platform back to that side. I throw the statue over and deal with these enemies. They're a bit like the ones I fought in the first room, but less aggressive and easier in every way. I drop the statue on a switch to unlock the door here. There's some wooden fences I can't deal with yet and a cyclops with eye lasers that splits in 2 when I hit it. Each of the 2 just take a single extra hit to kill. Then it's up the stairs and pulling a lever to extend that bridge even further. Next step is to grab that statue and use the targets to bring it to the other side of the room. This side has bipedal cats that attack with their claws. This one gets stuck on a pillar which makes it easier to kill. Then it's putting the statue on this switch to unlock the door. I run right in and drop into some flamethrowers. I have to grab the mesh above and climb across to another lever guarded by a skeleton spider crab scorpion that takes a couple hits to kill. This lever extends the bridge to its furthest point. I can now jump to it from the central area. Here I get attacked by a goat man with a pickaxe. The only way to damage him is to get around him when he attacks and hit his unarmoured back. Even then he still takes a few hits. Once he's dead I can finally go through this door. Sphinx walks up to the statue of Anubis, which begins to speak to him. He's not impressed. Sphinx has to prove his worthiness if he wants to free the people in the Cursed Palace. First he has to walk closer on an invisible bridge over a lava pit. Second task is to capture 3 fire armadillos in the previous room. That's the things that killed me. To do this, Anubis gives me one of the most important items in the game, the capture beetles. This is what I'll be mainly using for the animal collection for the museum. To capture an enemy, I have to weaken an enemy to the point they flash yellow and then lead the beetle into them. Fire armadillos infinitely spawn here, so I get to work. I get the 3 and go back to Anubis. This finally impresses him, as Horus tried this earlier and failed. Get fucked, Horus. Anubis grants me 2 curse stones to free any 2 prisoners in the cursed palace that I choose. He also lets me know that I can release captured fire armadillos and slim burbles to use their skills. So while I'm trying to capture one of every enemy, I'll always be stocking up on multiple of those 2. I start by using fire armadillos to burn all these cages in the previous room that I couldn't before. I also make sure to burn those wooden fences. The vases behind them just have more scarabs and beetle refills. Once I've burned all the wood, I leave. Outside, confirmed useless piece of shit Horus is waiting for me. Suddenly he says he was wrong about me and admits I'm superior to him without using those exact words. As a token of goodwill, he gives me a dark stone of invisibility. He apologises for being a waste of space and runs off. But before I can use it, Imhotep interrupts and says it's a trap. Horus was a salty bitch all along, and using the stone also causes instant death. Imhotep does say that Tuk could make use of it though, so I store it away in basket, ready for the next time I grab a canopic vase. Imhotep muses that him surviving falling into lava may have been more than just good luck. First thing is burning up these cages in front of the temple entrance. I can stock up on more armadillos from that hole below. Next to the obstacle course are 3 targets each on a small island. I have to shoot them all in quick succession. The timing is strict and getting the aiming right for all 3 at such varied differences is difficult, so it takes me a few minutes. When I finally shoot them all in time, it spawns a chest. Inside is another gold Ankh piece. That's my 4th, so I can increase my health, but there's an extra step I'm not aware of yet. Next I return to Abydos. Now I have the blowpipe, I can go to the house next to the beggar and play the minigame. I have to shoot doors with the blowpipe and match 2. The aim is to match them all within 60 seconds. Of course, when it comes to these, the easy strategy is to always just shoot them in order and wait until you find a second of one you've already found. It works for me this time, but what makes me fail to hit the target is my slow aiming. Aiming can be a little sensitive, so I'm always nudging the cursor along to avoid moving it too far. A few attempts later and I finish it in 54 seconds, winning me the Medal of Memory. I then donate a fire armadillo to the museum before I return to Heliopolis. Using the Eagle Stone, I return to that boulder on a wooden platform and set the platform on fire. The boulder rolls down and destroys this huge pillar to reveal a chest hidden inside. It contains another gold Ankh piece. Time to finally enter the cursed palace. Straight ahead there's 2 cursed guys in the back and 2 of those Cyclops enemies from before. I capture one, learning its name is actually just Cyclops. Killing them both unlocks the doors on either side. Make sure to burn this cage too. I take the right door and then choose to save the guy second on the right. He was summoned to Heliopolis from Abydos to write the Pharaoh's autobiography before he got caught in the curse. His experience has given him inspiration for a new book, so he's going back to Abydos to start on it. As thanks, he gives me the Book of the Dead. This is what allows me to send Basket to Tut with the canopic vases. Next I go into the left room and free the guy on the right. He's the brother of the farmer outside. He lets me know that this place is actually the Pharaoh's palace before he leaves to find his brother. In one of the corners of this room I break a vase to find an Atunai inside. Back in the other room I find a blade scorpion in a vase. One hit is enough to let me capture it. When I leave, the farmers are waiting for me outside. They want to return to their farm, but the eyes of Ra are keeping them away. First I grab myself some more fire armadillos and go back inside the cursed palace to burn down all those cages. One contains an Atunai. I also find a cobra in a vase that I killed last time. 2 hits to make it weak enough for capture. The other cage just has money in it. I fill the other eye socket of the skull nearest to the palace. Filling both eyes makes it disappear, leaving behind an Atun disc. Standing on one of these gives me a temporary speed boost, but first it's straight back to Abydos. The entire journey there was just to hand over my blade scorpion, cobra and cyclops to the museum. Then it's back to Heliopolis. Since I have a leftover Atunai, I put it in the skull nearest to the Temple of Anubis. Rather than use the Atun discs, I have the eagle fly me to the other side. I stock up on a load of slim burbles. These are the easiest animal to capture since you don't have to hit them, just steer the beetle into them. I turn around and use one to blow up this Eye of Ra post. Then working my way south from the top of the farm, I blow up one more. I try to cross the bridge to the next, but it somehow sees behind itself and lasers me, spawning me back at the boat. I try the Atun disc next time, but it still doesn't let me outrun the lasers. Next time I just take the first eagle and then drop down the cliff behind them all. Working my way south, I destroy all 3 posts in the sand. That just leaves the second one on the farm that manages to hit me again. After many failed attempts, I think to send out the burble from the bridge, finally taking out the last post and making this area simple to move around in. Getting rid of that one also lets me burn these cages. One of them has an Atunai. I then find another eye in a vase behind the farmer's tent. I stick one in the skull that used to be in the middle of the 3 Ra posts. The second completes the one outside the Temple of Anubis for another Atun disc. I go back to the farmers to let them know they can return to their farm. They tell me to visit them later so they can help me. Back to Abydos to donate a slim burble to the museum. Then the game freezes on the loading screen on the boat ride back. I didn't lose much though, just donating the slim burble, which I did again off camera. I go to the farmer's tent to see what they meant by help. While farming, they found a canopic vase, so I send it with Basket to Tut. Basket gives him his soul and hands him the Dark Stone of Invisibility. It only works when standing still. Once he moves, he'll become visible again. Once again I leave through the ladder, go through the same room and then climb out of the pit with the ray. This time my target is the door opposite the one I took last time. Back then I couldn't get through because it's more close in than the other and the set sign moves faster, which makes it impossible to get through in a single sprint. That's where the Dark Stone comes in. Turn invisible, inch forward when it turns away, and turn invisible again until I get through that door. And right away, in this new area, my first obstacle is another set of set's eyes. Like in the last room, if they spot you, there's a switch by the entrance to open all the doors again. After sneaking through the first corridor, I get to see Akhenaten and Menes talk some more. Horus is a spy for them and has to report that Sphinx has made contact with Anubis. Menes says it doesn't matter since he blocked off Heliopolis Point with the Seal of Aton, so he can't get very far. Only the Aton statue used to create the seal can break it, so at least I know what I'm looking for this time. Horus thinks he's so smart giving Sphinx that stone, thinking he should be dead by now. He walks off screen with the others and we will never see him again. Shame, they gave me plot reason to kill him and then never have him appear again. I go up some nearby stairs and through a door. In here I run through another room and up this ramp. This triggers the blades above that to cut me into three. I can swap between all my cells using the shoulder buttons. I try lighting myself on fire for all these cages but it runs out immediately. Instead I just run straight ahead, turn right and get crushed. I then take the left path into this lava room and jump across the platform so I can slip through the bars on the left and climb this ladder and get blown back down by fans. I run past them next time and stand on a switch that raises this block at the end. I then swap to Tut number 2. I then continue down the right path to a room with a chest containing the second stolen Abydos jewel. This activates a furnace in that spot to set me on fire. Can't take the fire back to those cages though because the crusher puts it out. Instead I climb this ladder and sneak along the wall avoiding the spikes. The path it leads to lets me drop down past the crusher and I can finally burn all those cages, all 2 of them, for a total of 15 onyx scarabs. I return to the lava room and burn another cage for 15 more onyx scarabs. Since I'm on fire I can walk through the lava fall on the right and climb another ladder, get 15 more onyx scarabs from another cage and jump across the rising platforms above water. Run through another lava fall and get on another switch. This raises another block behind the first one. Now for Tut number 3. I bring into the blocks but he can't get on top. So I take the other 2 Tuts off their switches to lower them. I get Tut number 3 on the first one, lift him with Tut number 1 switch, move Tut number 3 to the second block, then lift him with Tut number 2 switch. I can now grab the chest containing the Aton statue. This was a shorter one for Tut and he drops dead again. Basket returns to Sphinx and hands over the onyx scarabs, the stolen jewel and the Aton statue. While running around on the western side of this area, I come down here and find another Aton eye in a chest, along with another cage to burn. Next I get in the water and go against the stream to this little waterfall with a pair of boulders behind it. A slim burble blows it up to reveal a chest, but it only took one out so it won't let me open it. While restocking my animals, I put the eye in the other socket of that skull, unlocking my third Aton disc. I blow up the other boulder and open that chest for a gold Ankh piece. Back to Abydos next to return that stolen jewel, and give him my 7th gold Ankh piece. Back to Heliopolis and near the obstacle course, I go to the wall of the Temple of Anubis and burn a cage for another Aton eye. Right at the north of this area is a purple barrier. This is what Menes was talking about having put up earlier. There's a place for me to insert the Aton statue in front of it. The barrier goes and I can talk to this crying guy behind it. His wife Keta has gone missing. He thought he could hear a voice in this building, but he's too afraid to go in. He begs me to help out, so I go in. As soon as I enter, I get attacked by these arsehole mummy chihuahuas. They like to jump on me and maul me. I make sure to capture one before they're all dead, but they end up leaving me with such little health. That's not the end of it though. A worm thing comes out of a smoky green thing in the middle of the floor. It grabs my head in its mouth and throws me. I must have been spat at by these guys I fought back in Uruk. I manage to slam the first enemy as it rises. A second hit and I can capture it, learning its name is the Green Giant Worm. Its death also creates a statue I can smash for another Aton eye. I jump up to deal with the others but get my last bit of health spat out of me. I last saved back in Abydos after handing over the jewel, so all I lost was those 2 Aton eyes that I get back with ease. This time I managed to capture the enemy. Now it's time for me to get climbing this place. Moving clockwise along the outside, which also takes me up, I run into this electrified creature. It jumps to cause a shockwave, but that makes it lose its electricity and gives me the chance to hit it. After 2 hits, I can capture a half-brute. The arsehole still manages to damage me even after I've captured it. Next part is jumping over extending and receding platforms. Burn a cage and get jumping across some ropes. The first vase after that contains another Aton eye. Next up there's a slot for a Glyph Key that I don't have. Halfway between the ropes and this is another rope I can climb. It leads to a statue I can smash for the key. Put it in to make the platforms move and let me climb higher. Burn another cage for another Atunai. I have 4 right now. I then go through the door to the next area. Left leads to a save statue, so if I die I don't have to do all that again. Then running to the right there's another slot for a Glyph Key and a lever hidden behind bars. So I cross this bridge, which involves climbing across the railing to avoid spikes. At the end, one of the enemies from Luxor Dungeon shows up to fight me again. I stun lock it with 5 normal slashes and capture myself a Skull Worshipper. Going to the left I get fenced in and attacked by these guys with 2 swords. 5 slashes is once again enough to let me capture this sharp beak. There's also a new armadillo to deal with. This one is an electric armadillo and I capture it too. The next wave is another electric armadillo and a skeleton with a sword, the Skull Swordsman, who I also capture. Third wave is nothing new, a sharp beak and a half brute, but I get knocked off the bridge and when I fade back in, I'm already being killed by the shockwave. I once again capture everything again and clear that third wave on my second attempt. Something I don't always think is that I can always capture a duplicate of a non-item monster if it'll be more inconvenient than getting the last hits in normally. Wave 4 is another half brute and Skull Swordsman. Killing them lowers the gates and lets me reach a chest containing the Glyph Key. I take it back and put it in to lower the bars nearby. I pull the lever to unlock the door on the right past the bridge, but I'm absolutely saving first before trying anything else. Normally I'm an obsessive saver, but for some reason it just keeps slipping my mind playing this game. I go through the door, deal with the 2 annoying Cyclops and start messing with these 4 levers. They're for extending the platforms higher up. The correct order to get them all out is, from the left, the first, third, then fourth. I then go out the door and ride this rope next to it to another door higher up. I go through this one and end up fighting another of the cat enemies. I capture it, finding its name is just Knives Cat. With that, I get to the platforms. Now this is what I remember this game for the most. You might find that confusing. It's a series of platforms with flamethrowers between them, nothing too out there. But when my grandmother was playing this back in 2003 or 2004, this took weeks. For some reason, whether it was a glitch or maybe some weird anti-piracy measure, the game would not allow her to make it across the second jump. Sphinx would just refuse to land on the platform and slide off. I gave it many tries myself and still wouldn't do it, so it wasn't just her. She explored every available location for something, thinking maybe she was missing some kind of item. But no, until one day where out of nowhere, the game just let her cross. To this day we still have no idea what that was about. When I brought up that I was playing this game for the show, a game she probably hadn't thought about in over 15 years, this moment was the first thing she brought up. Even my mum, who'd pretty much stopped playing games at this point, remembered her being stuck on this for so long. These platforms are fucking history in my family. I even slid down the first time in this playthrough and thought, oh no, for a moment. But that time it was actually my fault and I made it across with ease on the second attempt. The chest at the end has another Glyph Key. Open it, fences me in here and makes me fight 3 spike spiders. I make sure to capture one and kill the rest. On my way back I fall between the middle platforms and land on the area below. Down here there's a car Ankh firing point. These can be used to teleport between each other. If I stand on one and shoot the car Ankh with a blowpipe, I'll teleport close to it. But first, through the door behind is a chest with 100 gold scarabs inside. Shame my wallet was already full, but at least it didn't make me put them back and leave the chest unopened. Now I can use the car Ankh to teleport. I turn to the platforms to put the Glyph Key into a slot next to them to unlock the next door. In the next room I get attacked by one of these purple guys from earlier. 5 hits let me capture the crab hands. At the opposite end from where I started from, there's a lever that drops a cage onto a moving platform. I have to wait for it to get close, jump on, throw the cage over the pit and get going with it. I take it down this bridge. A crowclaw sees me and runs for me, but as it passes through this gate, a spiked ceiling comes down on it. There are lasers on either side of this gate beaming into it. I plant the cage below the laser on the left and use it to whack it. I then do the same on the right, which turns off the spikes. Across another bridge and through the door. The door closes behind me and nearby is a barrier surrounding this little tower, with Keta trapped inside. I talk to her and she says that the 3 coloured beams entering the force field are what's powering it. Each beam leads to another room. First I start with the room on the left of the entrance. I shoot these 3 targets to make some platforms rise from the lava so I can cross and get inside. Right away at the entrance is a switch that lowers a cage in the middle of the area, but it doesn't stay pressed when I get off it. Across from the entrance I climb a rope and jump onto this section with a blue light only for a green worm to throw me off right away. I decide to just ignore it and run past it. I follow this path around the outside and at one point blow up this boulder with a slim burble to create a minor shortcut. I follow the path some more to reach a red light. I lose way too much health to that worm. In fact it kills me. By next time I figured out a safer way of fighting them. I run through a tunnel to the right of the entrance to reach an area with this tree spitting at me. Those attacks come fast and are hard to dodge. I jump over to it and accidentally kill it before I can capture it. I can now jump across to a car Ankh point and teleport across this large gap. Around where it starts me is a yellow light. Also next to where it starts me is another car Ankh point, so I can teleport again. First thing I do after teleporting is pull a nearby lever to make a pillar rise and another fall in the area I fought that tree. Going to the left and taking out yet another arsehole worm, I pick up this green statue, revealing a green light underneath it. I place the statue on the switch near the entrance to keep that cage lowered. Inside were yellow, red and blue statues and everything clicked. Taking the red statue to the red light is the easiest, thanks to the shortcut I made blowing up that boulder. Blue also uses that shortcut, I just have to walk the opposite direction from the red one. I can't do yellow just yet, I have to take green back. I put it on the lowered pillar from that lever near where I found the green statue in the first place, then go through all teleporting again to pull the lever again and lift it up. I also put the yellow statue on the other pillar when that is down. Both pillars aren't far from their respective statue slots. Once all statues are placed, it opens a gate to a statue emitting a beam in the back. I destroy it and that's one of the 3 dealt with. I'll go clockwise, next taking the route opposite this area's entrance. I burn down a fence and jump across the alternating platforms to enter the next area. First thing I do here is run right to blow up a boulder. In the cave it unblocks there's a green statue like the one in the last section. In the main section I have 3 electric devices caged, an electric armadillo, and a tree guy making his branches attack me from the ground. To the left is a small creature that sticks its head out of the ground and spits at me before burrowing under again. First the tree. I jump attack its head, then slash its head again when it lowers. A few hits and I can capture the creatively named tree creature. Next is running around whacking that burrowing thing. It takes ages, but I eventually capture a nose needler. With the enemies out of the way, I carry that statue and place it on a switch in the area I was fighting that nose needler. This lowers the cages around the electric devices. The next step is to lure the electric armadillo into rolling into them. You can't use these ones as items, so it has to be done the hard way. Once they're all lit, it creates a bridge to the statue that when destroyed gets rid of the second beam, just one left. Now for the room right at the entrance. I just have to jump attack a lantern to make the platforms to the door appear. This is the simplest one of the lot. As I enter the room, the bridge to the statue fucks off. I get attacked by a group of new enemies. These are smiling burbles. They attack by biting, lunging and breathing toxic gas on me. I make sure to capture the first one I fight and kill all the rest. Next is a half-brute and 2 skull swordsmen. Finally we have another of these guys from Anubis' temple. The one I fought there, I believe doesn't respawn, so this is my chance to capture it. However, I end up killing it by mistake. Its death makes the bridge come back and I can destroy that statue. I return to the main area where Keta is freed. She asks Sphinx to come with her while she returns to her husband, so he can thank him. The husband is of course overjoyed to see his wife safe. They are friends of Imhotep and he told him he wants to speak with Sphinx back at the Sun Shrine. He also gave the husband an Abydos pass card to give to him. Now I can get into the other half of Abydos I've been blocked off from all game. I placed 2 of my Atonais in the skull outside their tent on South Beach. Then 2 more in the one on the western side of the main Heliopolis area. But before going to Imhotep, I have something else to deal with. I heard before I started this game that some enemies may be missable, so I want to check that the 2 enemies I killed aren't gone forever. This means I haven't saved since before I first spoke to Keta back in the tower. I run all the way back up and find they have respawned. I capture a sunflower, but the goat bastard kills me. This means all those puzzles I just did to free Keta, I have to do again. This time I do the enemy gauntlet first and I make sure to capture the big bull. Every other capture and item acquisition I also do again. But I do have to climb a little bit of a tower again just to burn this one wooden cage. I didn't have enough armadillos at the time. Back to Abydos next, for I have a lot of donating to do. Big bull first. This is my 10th donation which grants me a Monster Hunter certificate bronze class. Then the rest. Crab hands, electric armadillo, green giant worm, half brute, knives cat, mummy chihuahua, mummy worm, nose needler, sharp beak. Skull swordsman is my 20th, which awards me with Monster Hunter certificate silver class. Skull worshipper, smiling burble, spike spider, sunflower, tree creature. That's all of them. In one visit I went from 9 donations to 25. Next I fully cross the bridge leading to Khonsu's boat and show my pass to the guard. The guard warns me of the beast in the canal and says if I clear it out he'll give me a portal amulet. Right away I see one of them, but it jumps in the water. I leave the area and come back to bring it back out, but accidentally kill it before I can capture it. So I enter one of the buildings and leave to respawn it, and a single hit is enough to capture a piranha. I then jump across the boardwalk to take on a grey one. It takes 3 hits before I'm able to capture an exo piranha. Third one is to the left and I kill it. I then jump across the gap to the right and take out the 4th. Near here is a tunnel I'll be using soon. I return to where I killed the 3rd one and jump across this canoe to reach the 5th piranha. That's the last one. I climb up this nearby rope to find the guy with the pet goofy lizard. He says it was sold to him as very valuable, but it looks like he's been conned. He was hoping to impress his girlfriend with it, but now he needs something else. I return to the guard who gave me my task and get the Heliopolis Amulet, so now I can teleport there using the portals. Around the corner from the guy with the lizard is another door I can enter. This is Tefnut's Target Tavern, which costs 10 scarabs per attempt. I just have to hit the targets to earn points. Hitting skulls loses points. For this game's medal I need 40 points at least. Different targets worth different amounts, but I only get 21 points on my first try. Second try goes a little better at 30 points, but on my third attempt I hit 40 points with 10 seconds left, then immediately hit a skull and have to scramble another 5 before time runs out. I manage it though. This gets me the Marksman medal. After that I go through the tunnel I pointed out earlier. A guy is pounding on the door of the council chambers, begging to be let in, but they refuse as I can't risk any monsters getting inside, so it looks like it's my job then. First new enemy just takes a few swings at me, but I get most of my swings in first and capture a wasp spider. It turns out all the council were afraid of was 4 wasp spiders. What a load of cowards. Once they're dead, they open the door to let in what I hope is a very resentful man. I then follow him inside myself. Running from the entrance to the bottom floor, there's a slot for a Glyph Key. One of the birdmen I can talk to thanks me for dealing with the spiders by giving me an eye to an eye. I go through the door in the back to the mayor's room. It turns out he's dying. His shifty aides are pushing him to choose a successor so he can give them the sacred crown of Abydos. A less shady doctor tells Sphinx that the mayor has contracted a mysterious illness. He needs 5 healing herbs to make a cure, but he can't leave the mayor in case his condition worsens, so I have to get him. He gives me a note to take to Kemet the Inventor, who should be able to help me locate them. I grab the physician's note and get going to the museum so I can donate my Exo Piranha, and Wasp Spider. Next I go to the higher up bridge above the canal and get the gate there opened. There was a building near here that I couldn't enter before. Outside it is Kemet and I can give him the note. He says that healing herbs can be found around Abydos, but are very fragile and die soon after being picked. They need to be kept in the medicine bag, but he doesn't have one. What he does have is a canopic vase, which he lets me have in case it helps. Time for one more visit to Tut. Menez is telling the fake Akhenaten that they've learned of an intruder now that 2 of the Abydos jewels have been recovered. He assumes it's an Urukite, one of the old inhabitants of Uruk. He sees them as no threat and has Menez strengthen security. He also has a new type of trap they've been testing on prisoners. It's a statue that transforms a target into a bat. Meanwhile, Basket shows up to revive Tut once more, and once more I climb out the usual hole. This time in this room, the camera focuses on an Anubis statue. I have to jump across the first 2 platforms as normal, and then sneak across a pillar to reach it. As soon as I get in front, it turns me into a bat. By mashing B, I can flap my wings for infinite flight. The only way to change back is to land in front of another statue with a green flame above it. Around this room is a pair of climbing and sneaking challenges to reach levers that open up the 2 doors at the end of the pit. I just need to use the bat to travel to each of them. Once that's done, I go through the door. It leads to the castle's exterior. I follow the path down a locked door, then cross a bridge to a statue that I push off a switch to remove one of its 2 locks. To find the other, I have to drop down to the left of the door and cross another bridge. Through the door is a room with an electrical device in the middle and a floor that is constantly flooding and draining. First I get in the corridor on the right, which shuts and electrifies me. I have to move quick to avoid the flooding and get to the device to turn it on. It lets free a water flow in another room, which also activates the moving rail I can hang on. Next is the corridor on the left, containing a chest holding the 3rd stone Abydos jewel. Collecting it lowers me into the fiery pit. I take the fire to a ladder right of this room's entrance, and at the top I burn 3 cages for 35 onyx scarabs. Then it's riding the rail. I have to jump on the right end, otherwise it will carry me through some water and make me lose my fire. But then a pillar on the way knocks me off and makes me land in water anyway. First thing I do in this new room is push a statue on top of the switch. There are 2 on either side and each switch raises a platform on that side. Next to that I can also pull a lever to open a door to the electric corridor. With that I can run through on fire and burn all these cages to bring my onyx scarab total up to 65. Then I jump across the platforms I rose on the right to burn this wood holding the pillar, which makes it drop a little. My next step is to get pulling these 3 levers to make the 3 platforms line up in front of a torch on the right so I can jump across it and light it. I then do the same for the torch on the left. Lighting them both opens a gate blocking another electric device. I line the platforms up with it and come back with electricity to activate it. It pushes back the wall on the platform above me. Next step is to drag that statue onto the left switch and burn the wood holding the pillar on that side up. With both pillars dropped, I can ride the rail again. Behind the right pillar is a lever that opens the front of 2 gates. Next is the left pillar hiding a lever that unlocks the other. I ride the rail around to the opposite side of the room where I got on it so I can light these 2 torches. Doing so unlocks the door between them. Right in front is a switch that opens a gate to another switch, but between that switch and the next is a pair of rotating statues with security lasers going around. Touching them undoes the switch. So I just have to move carefully and crouch when necessary to reach the next switch, which opens another. The 3rd one opens one more gate to the first of 3 Glyph Keys I'll be needing. I get back on the rail and ride it into a 3rd room with water. I pull a lever by the door which unlocks the door on the other side of the fire room. I then use the fire to burn more cages and get my onyx scarab total to 85. I leave this room for now and ride the rail back to that wall I pushed back above that lever. It bounces me across to those two gates I opened, getting me my second Glyph Key. I come back to the third room with electricity and activate the device there. It lowers a gate keeping me from a movable platform. Using these I can burn these two bits of wood holding up two more pillars. I can now ride the rail to the first pillar, run around the tunnel to the next while keeping my fire, and keep riding. I can then drop down to this wooden grate and burn through it to find the final Glyph Key. Then across from the entrance to this entire area are slots for all the Glyph Keys. Placing them removes the barrier around this chest containing the medicine bag. Tut's role is complete for now and he dies again. Basket returns to Sphinx and gives him the bag and the jewel. The onyx scarabs from this visit bring my total to 230. Now I have the bag, I now have to find all the healing herbs. Then I remember that Imhotep wanted to talk to me, so I return to Heliopolis and see him. He says Anubis wants to see me again. He gives me a portal amulet that warps me right into Anubis Tower. And since there's a portal right behind Imhotep, it's not a problem. He has another quest to free some more people in the Cursed Palace. He wants the Sacred Crown of Abydos, which he gave to the mayor years ago. So now I have more incentive to save him. Now back to Abydos. I hand the third stolen jewel back over to the museum. This gets me my 8th gold Ankh piece. The healing herbs are these green plants dotted around Abydos. I just have to walk up to each of them and select take to grab them. I can find 4 of them around town. Then outside the council chamber I can get in the water and hit all 3 of these lanterns to spawn a chest containing a Glyph Key. I can use this inside to open a nearby gate leading to the final healing herb and a chest containing 100 gold scarabs. I go to the mayor and hand the herbs over to the physician who uses them to heal him. After thanking Sphinx for his help and asking why he's here, he does consider handing over the crown, but his shady advisors instead claim that Sphinx is the one who poisoned him in the first place. The mayor finally calls them out on being shady arseholes. He needs to think first and invites Sphinx to join him next door, but the shady advisors follow him too. I return to the previous room and the mayor has finally decided to hand over the crown. But the shady advisors throw a temper tantrum and take the crown themselves. They escape through a hole under an Anubis statue, causing the mayor to beg Sphinx to stop them. And that cliffhanger is where I'm going to leave Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy this episode. At this point, I'm enjoying the game a lot more than I expected I would. The game will be finished next episode, so we'll see whether or not my opinion changed by the end. Next, we're going to finish off Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. At the end of part 1, the mayor of Abydos was about to reward me with the Sacred Crown of Abydos for saving his life, but then his obviously evil advisor stole it and ran off down a hole. So I jumped down that hole after them. I wonder if the mayor knew he had a massive evil cavern under this place. I jump onto this bridge and follow it to the obvious boss arena. The advisors are waiting for me and admit to being the cause of all of Abydos' problems. They electrified the water, stole the museum's jewels, and poisoned the mayor. They've been working to get the crown for our villain the entire time. This is also the first time the villain's identity is revealed. He is the god Set. With Set having Luxor and the castle of Uruk under his control and Anubis just having Sphinx, the advisors think this will be an easy win for Set. The advisors then combine into a big skeleton with wings. We are finally facing the game's first boss, Apocalypse. He starts by throwing fireballs at this pillar to reveal a crystal. He then flaps his wings to blow me off the arena. This spawns me back at the start of this room and makes me walk across the bridges again. There are 3 more pillars around the arena, so I hide behind them and let him throw fireballs at them to reveal more crystals. With all 4 revealed, I start hitting them with my sword. Hitting one makes it shine a laser on the giant crystal in the middle of the arena. It creates one large beam that shoots up and hits the boss. Then all the lasers stop and I have to repeat it. To deal with his wind blowing, I just have to run directly against it. Trying to run it to the side will just get you blown off. He's off screen through most of the second cycle, setting fireballs that explode and create a shockwave, but they're nowhere near me when they go off and I get the second hit in. The third beam misses because now he'll actually move away from the centre of the arena. If you fall off and spawn back on the bridge, his wind can even get you there, so be careful and don't try jumping the gap while he's doing it. Another way of dealing with the wind is to stand in front of one of the crystals. It'll just block your path. On my third attempt after missing the first 2, I finally get that third hit in and finish him. He tries getting some parting words in to bring me down, but he gets lasered again and blown up. I can now finally reclaim the Sacred Crown of Abydos. Grabbing it has me talking to a light that tells me I can't comprehend its power, and that taking it has put me in great peril. The light wonders if Sphinx could be the one from the prophecy and gives him a gold Ankh. This is my first health upgrade since the opening of the game, since I haven't yet discovered how to use my gold Ankh pieces at this point. I'm warped right back to Imhotep. He had no idea the enemy was as far along as they were, and he's certain that if I didn't interfere, Abydos would have eventually become a wasteland like Heliopolis. He says I should get back to Anubis now I have the crown. Even though Imhotep reminds me I can just warp there using the portal I'm standing on, I still take the long way and walk there. That's so I can stock up on fire armadillos and finally burn this one wooden cage near Imhotep's temple. I kept passing by it with no armadillos all the time, so this time I was making sure. It has another Atonai inside. After wasting time getting confused and running around Abydos for nearly 10 minutes, I finally returned to Anubis. I hand over the crown, which has Anubis finally reveal his form instead of just talking as a statue. He says that if Set was after the Abydosian crown, then he must also be after the sacred crown of Uruk. He gives me 2 more cursed stones and tells me I must find the other crown before Set. He also gives me acid darts that allow me to dissolve certain metal chains. Back in the Cursed Palace, I go into the right hand room to free the old woman there. She's a fortune teller that knew Sphinx would be the one to free her from the curse, but still didn't actually see the curse coming. The pharaoh's wife summoned her to see the future, but then her train of thought gets lost to something else. She sees that Heliopolis was once bright and peaceful until monsters started appearing from the hills to the north. Then the climate changed and really fucked things over, and then the Great Wall of Heliopolis just appeared out of nowhere across the entire island. It protected them from the monsters in the north. At the same time the wall was built, that was when the pharaoh's palace and everyone in it was cursed. The cursed palace was the price for the wall. She's not done. She can see the sacred crown of Uruk, along with an ancient temple lost in the great desert, golden obelisks hiding secrets within, and a feat of great strength. That's all, and she heads off home to Abydos. Next stone I use on a woman in the left hand corner of the palace. After wondering what actually happened here, her first thoughts are to wonder what her husband is doing. Last time she saw him, he was obsessing over a lost temple of Heliopolis. I'm looking for a lost temple too, so this should help. He once said that the temple was in the South Desert and contained an important ancient artifact. She gives me the key to the South Desert that her husband gave her to keep safe. With this, I finally check out what was on the other side of the Great Wall. Last time I only entered the dungeon inside it. Surprise! It's more desert. This is Heliopolis Point. To the left of the entrance I find these little blue things wandering around that run away when I get close and I can't attack. Nearby is this fence with a man walking around inside. He's offering me treasure in exchange for herding his squirts, the blue things, back into this pen. All 4 of them are already nearby. This was nowhere near as annoying as I was expecting. Chasing them back into the pen was quite easy. I just hang behind them and they do most of the work for me. Once all of them are returned, I talk to him again and receive my 9th gold Ankh piece. Near where I found the first squirt is another of those obelisks with a sign in a language I can't read. Next I run straight forward from the entrance to this area towards the shore. There's a temple, another obstacle course next to it, and a couple tents by the water. I run past the athlete by the shore and put both my Atonais into this skull for another disc. Then I talk to the athlete. He challenges me to run to the next beach and back in under 70 seconds. At the end of the beach is a hanging pendant that I have to hit to signify I've reached the end and can turn back. But since the game didn't actually show me where I was aiming to go, I run the wrong way for a couple seconds. I can't find the pendant, so I just abandon the challenge and go into this cave leading to South Beach. But it seems the key doesn't work on this one. The door the key does open is here, close to the squirt pen. I try the challenge again, thinking I'm supposed to head this way, but I'm wrong. I enter South Beach and run along these Aton discs until I find some shops by the beach. Once I realise I'm wrong, I head back towards the entrance, spotting a wooden cage to burn on the way. It gets me another Atonai. Also just next to the entrance is a rock to blow up with a slim burble. It gets me back to the first area, to a chest I couldn't reach otherwise. That's 10 gold Ankh pieces. I return to the beach with the athlete and check out those tents near him. One is a shop that sells a dart bell that costs 200 scarabs more than I can hold. The other is another shop with a much more paranoid seller inside. He charges me 10 onyx scarabs just to gain his trust. This place is what all those onyx scarabs I was picking up as the mummy were for, so I pay up. He opens a door to a shop in which everything costs onyx scarabs. First is the key to that cave door I couldn't open for 10 onyx scarabs. What's weird is the glow from the key hangs around after it's gone. Next is my 11th gold Ankh piece for 150 onyx scarabs. Finally, 4 Atonais for 50 onyx scarabs. That just leaves another gold Ankh piece and another set of 4 Atonais that I can't afford yet. I run back to that cave and use the key to open the door. Then it clicks, so I take the athlete's challenge again. The door leads back to the area within Hotep's temple, but I run the wrong way and lose time. But I do see where the pendant is, hanging off a cliff near the couple's tent. My time ends up being 81 seconds. Next time I take the correct turn, but get a different problem. That Sphinx fucker won't hit the pendant. Because he's still got speed from the Aton disc, he keeps trying to slam his sword on the ground instead of swinging up like normal. I get it next time by standing still before jumping and do the entire course in 67 seconds, beating the target by 3 seconds. He gives me my 12th gold Ankh piece. Back to those shops at South Beach. This is Bedouin Outpost. The first shop I enter has a guy who's really into capture beetles. He sells a beetle satchel that increases my maximum amount of beetles to 50, but it's 900 scarabs and my cap is still 400. The tent on the opposite end has Rosetta, the local healer inside. She's the one who I use my gold Ankh pieces with. I select Ankh piece ritual to turn 4 of them into an extra unit of health for 200 scarabs. I have enough pieces for 3 more health, but only have the money for 2. Across from the tent is a rope I can climb. It takes me to the beggar from Abydos, who's just moved here. Around the corner and up the hill, then past through this valley, burning a cage on my way for another Atonai. I have 6 now. Continuing through the valley, I burn another cage for another Atonai. I reach the bridge hanging over this pit and these statue heads with chains in the mouths, so I get to melting them all with acid darts. Opening a mouth has that statue start spewing water into the pit. Opening up all 3 has them fill this hole in the middle of the pit with water. Then I just leave. I guess I didn't realise I could just jump off that bridge to land in the water. I head further up the hill to find a cliff I can't reach and a platform below that just doesn't get me the height to reach it. But there are these 3 poles nearby with targets on them that get spinning when I whack them. Can't hit them all before the first stops spinning though. So I head for Aton Disc and realise that this south beach and the south beach within Hotep's temple are actually both the same screen. Suddenly I forgot about those targets and gone back to exploring. I finally realise I can jump off that bridge and land in the water below. At the water is a sign that explicitly labels this place as the Lost Temple of Heliopolis. It says that only those who prove themselves worthy through combat can enter, so I have to kill a pair of half-brutes. Doing so opens a door inside. Somehow this old guy is inside too. This is Urbain the archaeologist. He spent most of his life searching for the Rosetta stone. Even though he got through the door to the temple without it opening, he says that now he's hit a wall and the task is impossible. He takes Sphinx to a wall with ancient writing. It says that the Rosetta stone was shattered into 6 pieces that were all hidden inside the temple. They're also guarded by ferocious beasts and he's too frail to fight them. Even though if he did in fact get through the temple door, he would have already had to fight ferocious beasts. Since Sphinx is young and strong, he's going to push him to fulfill his life's dream. I run back out into the first room and take the path right from the temple doors. It leads to a chain door that I dissolve to open. I break open the statue in this room to find the first Rosetta stone piece. I return to the main room and take the path left of the temple doors. I then melt open the door on this end. I follow the room around to a switch and press it to get this platform to take me to another door to melt open. It leads to a big room with 4 corners over a pit, 2 circular platforms between me and another door, and then a moving platform going around those platforms. The circular platforms both also have a statue with a slot for a key. I take the corner to the right of the entrance and melt the door open. There's a long corridor leading to another switch that operates platforms, but these 2 only move halfway across the pit, so I have to time a jump across. In the room this leads to, I melt the huge chains holding this cage, which makes it drop into the fiery pit and makes some skeletons appear. 5 strikes and I capture a skeletal axeman for the museum. It's so easy to forget that the easiest way of dealing with a lot of enemies is to just stunlock them with the first strike of the combo. I just instinctively want to perform the whole thing. Killing one of them gets me a skeletal skull, the other gets me skeletal pelvis. More appear and I kill those to get a skeletal leg and a skeletal arm. A stone tablet then rises from the ground saying I have to set the bones from head to toe, left to right on these 4 glowing things in the back. So it's head, arm, pelvis, leg. Doing it right pushes out these walls I can use as platforms to climb higher. But then I get a thought and try melting this chain that does nothing. Now, I didn't know whether the chains were permanently destructible or if they respawned and coming back to right this months later, I couldn't remember. After melting the other chains in this section, I climb up to the first wall and burn a pair of cages for some money. Climbing higher has me attacked by this shadowy thing with a stick. It's easily beaten up and I capture a dark worshipper. Next floor has 3 more cages for me to burn, but I'm out of fire armadillos. I even tried blowing them up with a slim burble despite knowing that doesn't work. Gonna have to come back later. I climb some more to the highest point in the room and melt away all the chains up here to open some gates up here, including all the ones hanging down below in front of the room's entrance. During this I break a nearby statue for my second Rosetta stone piece. After melting away the last of the chains, including the ones holding the exit shut, I find another cage I can't burn yet and backtrack up the walls again to melt even more chains than I missed. It was worth it though, because doing so opens these doors that I thought were just decoration at first. Doing this on the 3rd wall opens up a fire armadillo spawning point. The 3 cages already here just had money inside. Sadly that was the only one, so I can't burn that last cage yet. So I melt the last chain and get going through the exit. It brings me back into the big room with the pit, just higher up. I melt this chain hanging from the ceiling to drop a statue that I can then push onto a switch. It pushes out a platform I can use to cross the gap to the far right corner of this room. Killing a giant worm here raises a statue I can break for a Glyph Key. I drop down and melt a lot of chains to open 3 doors. The middle door leads to a statue containing my 3rd Rosetta stone piece. I take the moving platforms to one in the middle and set the Glyph Key in one of the statues. It pushes out a bridge from the far left corner of the room to the final round platform in front of the exit. I then jump over to the left side. Once again I melt all the chains here, opening 3 more doors. One of these has another breakable statue for my 4th Rosetta Stone piece. I make sure to melt the 2 chains I missed by the room's entrance before I melt open this door on the left side. Another switch with moving platforms later, and I'm in a bigger room melting more chains. If these turn out to respawn, I'm going to feel very silly going to all the effort doing it and then pointing out that I'm doing it. Doing this opens 4 doors, and after I kill the pair of sharp beak that come from them, I run into them and press all the switches inside to lower this block. I melt the chain to drop it so I can climb up to the next floor. I take the right path and melt open a door, then melt the chains behind it while taking out those enemies that shrink when attacked. I capture one, revealing its name is Almost a Bull. There's also another cage in here, but luckily a fire armadillo spawns. Just more money, but these armadillos are infinitely spawning, so I stuck up on them. After melting the last of the chains in here, I go through the passage back into the big room. I burn down the fence around this switch. Pulling it raises this rail, which lets me melt the chains holding these stone faces up. Getting rid of both actually lowers the rail enough that I can grab it and climb across to the other side. Like on the right side, the far left corner has a giant worm I kill for a statue with another Glyph Key. I backtrack to the block room and take the right path and melt open that door for a statue containing the 5th Rosetta Stone piece. I return to the centre and place the Glyph Key in the other statue to make a bridge from the exit to the final platform. But first I backtrack and burn open that cage I couldn't earlier. Just more money, but if I want to do everything in the game, I gotta do it. I use the bridges to reach the exit and melt away the 2 chains here to open the gate. It leads to a suspiciously large and round room with a statue in the middle with the final Rosetta Stone piece inside. Grabbing it raises some fences around me and spawns some enemies. First is a pair of sharp beak, then a pair of knives cats. After that is an actual challenge, a pair of big bulls. I nearly die, but I still get them. Killing them all gives me a gold Ankh piece, that's my 13th. Now to backtrack to Urbane. I make sure to melt all the chains in the corridor before the big room. Plus all the ones around these pillars in the entrance. I give all the pieces to Urbane who gets started on putting them together. He's going to return to his tent in Bedouin Outpost to do so. He gives me underwater projectiles so I can finally interact with things underwater. With that he leaves, and so do I. Only way out of here is to swim down a nearby hole using the underwater projectiles to shoot open a gate. This takes me back to the area of South Beach with Imhotep's temple. I've seen some underwater pots while passing through here before, so I go about destroying them. One gets me another Atonai, while the majority tend to be money or ammo refills. I use the portal in the temple to walk back to Abydos and go to the museum. I hand over the Almost a Bull and the Dark Worshipper. Since that's 30 specimens donated, I'm given the Monster Hunter Certificate Gold class. Finally, I donate the Skeletal Axeman. Returning to the first screen of Heliopolis, I can finally swim down this watery tunnel on the western side and open the gate leading to Bedouin Outpost. Next to the tunnel exit, I burn another cage for an Atonai. I enter Urbane's tent just as he has finished deciphering the Rosetta Stone. He's so happy that he just gives me the full stone, which lets me finally read what's on the golden obelisks. He tells me to come back once I've checked them all out. I go next door to Rosetta to trade another 4 Ankh pieces for more health. Behind Rosetta's tent is another cage to burn for another Atonai. I have 10 now. The gold obelisk around the corner from the outpost says, "But a great warrior by the name of Sphinx," and I can already tell where this obelisk quest is going. The second obelisk is up the hill at the edge of a cliff overlooking the area with Imhotep's temple. It says, "Will emerge as the chosen one." The third one requires hitting those 3 spinning targets to raise the pole so I can reach it. I have to use the closest Aton disc around the corner to maintain the speed to hit all 3 quick enough. Using the pole, I see there's also a chest here with an obelisk gate key inside. The obelisk here says, "To defend the eternal Eye of Ra." Around the corner from that is a gate I can open with my new obelisk gate key. There's an even bigger obelisk inside, with worshippers dancing around it. One of them says that the great obelisk will only reveal its secrets to the chosen one. There's also a cage nearby to burn for another Atonai. The 4th obelisk is the one near the squirt pen I mentioned earlier. When the age of Osiris comes to an end. I run up this slope I missed to the right of the entrance from the wall. 2 more cages to burn, but only 1 armadillo. It's another Atonai. The final obelisk I pointed out last episode, near where that boulder I set off was. The shadow of Set will descend upon us. After stocking up on fire armadillos, that other cage was more money. I return to Urbane, who puts all the notes in the correct order. When the age of Osiris comes to an end, the shadow of Set will descend upon us, but a great warrior by the name of Sphinx will emerge as the chosen one to defend the eternal Eye of Ra. Knowing that Sphinx is the chosen one, Urbane gives him a magical statue that will unlock the great obelisk, the Hathor statue. So I return to the great obelisk and place the statue in this slot. A light from the sky makes the obelisk sink into the ground and gives me a canopic vase. I send it with Basket to Tutankhamun at the castle of Uruk, but first Menes checks out the dungeon looking to find whoever's been sneaking around the castle, finding nothing. Once he's gone, Basket arrives to revive Tut with the vase. Since Menez left the door open, I have a new area to check out. In here I crawl through a hole to reach the room with the big beam. I grab onto a nearby rail and climb around so I can drop behind these set sides and get through this door that would be inaccessible otherwise. From the door I drop down and head forward, past these 4 statues and jumping across this gap to reach the king of the sarcophagi, Ramesses. He'll give me an ancient artifact if I can light all 5 torches around him, warning that they can be extinguished just as easily as they can be lit. So I backtrack towards the ledge I dropped in from and go left at the 3 hallways. Through the tunnel is a pair of cages, a switch and some water. Instead I return to the main area and pull the switch on the right. It covers up a fire pit somewhere I haven't been yet. Walking into the hallway next to the switch gets me flattened, but it doesn't last very long. I flatten myself and pull the switch again and take the middle hallway, avoiding falling through the grates and just making it through the bars on the other side before I fill out again. At the end of this hallway is a set of grinders down a pit that split Tut into 3 again. I take Tut 1 straight forward and step on a switch. I then take Tut 2 to the other switch right next to it. This gets a lift going in front of them that I take Tut 3 up on. I pull a nearby lever to get an electric current going. This has the lift moving on its own with no need for the switches. Now I can take Tuts 1 and 2 up the lift too. I take Tut 1 through this gate opposite the lever. This puts me back in the main area. Now for these statues I walked past. I stand on the bottom left one to open the first gate next to the lever in here. Putting Tut 2 on the top right one opens the second gate so Tut 3 can pass through. First thing I see in this new room is a chest containing the 4th stolen Abydos jewel. Opening the chest has a cage shut around me and a crane lift me up and drop me in fire. Once I'm out, I climb the nearby ladder and burn a pair of cages at the top to 30 onyx scarabs. I pull a lever that takes away the platforms making a bridge to Ramesses, but opens 3 gates next to me. I drop down into the main room and return to the room with the water and burn the cages in there for 30 more onyx scarabs. I put myself back in the room with the fire and swap back to Tut 1. I take him to the water room and pull the lever, which raises a pair of catwalks next to me. I swap to Tut number 2 and take him over the catwalks and see there's a metal gate at the end of one and a wooden fence at the end of the other. I leave him at the wooden fence and come back with a fiery Tut 3. The catwalks are wood so they catch fire too. I burn the fence Tut 2 was standing by and keep going a little further to get electrified. Going further as me jumping over platforms rising and lowering into water. It leads to the switch that when electrified opens the metal gate. I take the other catwalk back and place myself in the main room. I take Tut 2 through that same path while electrified and put him in the main room. Then I bring back Tut 1 and put him on the bottom right switch to open the gate next to the top right switch. Putting Tut 3 on the top left switch opens the gate behind that one. Now Tut 2 can pass through to light up a switch that raises these platforms with alternating streams of water. I open up the fire cage room and bring another Tut through it and over the platforms to Ramesses and his torches. Lighting a torch then has the fire travel along the lines drawn in the star to light the 2 torches connected to it. Of course, lighting a torch that's already lit will put it out. Here's the whole thing sped up so you can see how I did it. Once all 5 are lit, Ramesses opens up to give me the Hands of Amun, which allows Sphinx to push and pull very heavy objects. Time's up for Tut, so he dies again and teleports back to the dungeon. Basket returns with a message from Imhotep, who is pleased by Sphinx's progress and thinks he's ready to search for the other crown. He believes it is in Auric Islands, reached through the Great Wall entrance free. He then hands over the jewel, scarabs and hands. I return to Bedouin Outpost. In the tent where the guy is selling captured beetles, I talk to this other guy I've been missing every time I've been here. His hobby is collecting monsters, and seeing my beetle pouch, he asks me to become his assistant. He gives me a list of monsters he wants and sends me off to get them. Monster list 1 has 4 monsters on it. Fire Armadillo, Mummy Worm, Almost a Bull and Half Brute. I have 2 of those already, I'm just missing an Almost a Brute and a Mummy Worm. Also, why is Half Brute hyphenated in some places like the monster list, but not in others like my monster collection? I return to the Lost Temple to find that I did indeed waste my time and the chains respawned. But at least I know from now on that's less little things to keep in mind for 100%. In here I capture a Mummy Worm and an Almost a Brute. On the way back I take a detour to the Onyx Scarab guy in Heliopolis Point and buy the final 4-pack of Atonais for 50 Onyx Scarabs. Just 1 item left to buy from him. There are more Atonais in the game than there are eye sockets to place them, which is how I've wound up with 16. I return to Bedouin Outpost and hand over the monsters. For my effort I only get 100 scarabs. He then gives me Monster List 2. This one lists Dark Worshipper, Wasp Spider, Rat and Spike Spider. Once again I already have 2, I need to get a Rat and Wasp Spider. I return to Abydos and buy a Rat from the monster shop. While I'm here I also return the 4th stolen jewel and am rewarded with a parasol. While looking for a Wasp Spider, I burn a cage I missed in Anubis' temple for some more money. I grab the Wasp Spider in the next room and return to the guy at Bedouin Outpost. He gives me 200 scarabs for this lot and gives me Monster List 3, listing monsters he wanted his entire life. This list has Tree Creature, Skeletal Spider, Big Bull and Skull Worshipper. I have none of these right now. While I'm here, I go across to the beggar and give him the parasol I got from the museum. In return, he gives me something I've been waiting for all game, the large scarab bag. This raises my money cap to 900 scarabs. It's always satisfying having action-adventure games tease you with things that cost more than you can hold, then you finally get the bigger wallet later. Now that I can afford more things, I return to Abydos and get farming money using the same method with the museum that I used last episode. 14 minutes of farming later, I have the 700 scarabs to buy a featherless turkey from the monster shop. I then hand it over to the museum. My next aim is the 900 scarab shuttlecock bird. 27 minutes of farming later, I have 845 scarabs when I enter a building to reset the pots. Then the game crashed while loading. I last saved just after giving the beggar the parasol. That was about 50 minutes ago. So I only lost the featherless turkey, but it was still a huge time loss. So instead I decide to work on Monster List 3. In the Great Wall dungeon from last episode, I capture a skull worshipper and a big bull, somehow forgetting that tree creatures can be found there too. Around the corner from Bedouin Outpost, I use Natun Disc to jump to a small platform. Once it wears off, I jump across 2 more to a pot with another Atonai inside. I rebuy and redonate the featherless turkey, having made most of the money climbing the Great Wall again and selling off some duplicate monsters I don't need. Only, while selling off more old monsters to buy the shuttlecock bird, I accidentally sell the skull worshipper I caught for the list. Oops. After selling everything I had spare, it takes another 20 minutes farming outside the museum to get the 900 scarabs I needed for the shuttlecock bird. After buying it, I immediately donate it to the museum. Back in the Great Wall, I capture yet another skull worshipper. I've also been capturing every enemy I can to sell later when I need money. Once again, I forget to go back for a tree creature. In the water next to the obstacle course at Heliopolis Point, I find a lot of pots underwater, including one with an Atonai inside. I also see this target underneath a giant pillar in the obstacle course. Hitting it lowers the pillar. And there I was avoiding it after the bad association I had with the first obstacle course from last episode. I couldn't have done it right away anyway. After jumping across the pillar, I have to kill 2 half-brews. It takes longer than it should because one headbutts me flying off into the water. When they die, a rope lowers so I can climb higher. I burn a fence here and ride the zipline behind it higher up. The cage I burn here gets me yet another Atonai. I climb another rope and ride another zipline down to a chest containing a beetle breeding jar. This is something the beetle breeder in Bedouin Outpost will like, so I return there and give it to him. It was his first and he lost it. Without it he can't breed capture beetles and would go out of business. In return he gives me a loyalty card which halves the prices of the beetles at his shop. It even halves the price of the beetle satchel to 450 scarabs, but I don't even have that just now. Now it's time for Great Wall Entrance 3. It's right next to that obstacle course I just did. Now I have the hands, I can push these heavy stone blocks onto the floor markings to open the gate inside. First thing to do back inside the Great Wall is head directly forward and burn away this fence. Behind it is a statue I can break to find a Glyph Key. Then down the stairs to fight a skeletal spider. I need 2 of these, one for the museum and one for the monster list, and I get them both here. There are these 3 stones with slots for Glyph Keys on top, but I can't get on top of them. Further on is another of those memory games I've done a couple of last episode. Pressing the buttons in the right order opens a door behind it. The chest in here contains ice darts, which are used for freezing monsters into ice blocks. I could freeze a skeletal spider to make reaching these glyph slots easy, but I can also just about make it with a frozen fire armadillo. I place a key in the leftmost slot to turn off the leftmost water stream next to the memory game. This small new area I have access to has a car Ankh I can use to teleport to another area. I hit this switch to remove the spikes from the walls and climb to the next level. It's on a timer though, so after I burn the fence keeping me from the next one, I press it again. I have to then burn another fence, press the switch again, and I finally have the time to climb up to the top. The tunnel it leads to has flamethrowers that turn on and off every few seconds, and a rail to grab on to lower the gate in front of it. Repeat this until I reach the other end. Here there's a statue of a second Glyph Key. I backtrack, but before I place the second key, I can see there's another car Ankh I can teleport to. Here there are 4 buttons on the floor and a target to shoot above them. Shooting it spawns a fire armadillo. I freeze it and place it on one of the buttons. I do it twice more and step on the final button to open the door to a statue with the 3rd Glyph Key inside. I can now backtrack and place both of these in the remaining 2 slots to turn off the remaining water streams. I can reach the other side of this room and stand on the teleporter, taking me to the Uruk Islands. All I can do on this first island is shoot the 2 targets to create a moving platform that takes me to the next island. Here there's a friend of Imhotep's who's been waiting for me. He tells me the sacred crown of Uruk is being held by the Geb Queen, but before I can even reach her, I have to overcome a test of mind and body. I have to enter the temple behind him and bring back what I find inside. I enter and the door closes behind me. Above me are 3 3x3 tile patterns and below each of them is a locked door. As I step on another pattern in the middle of the floor, a woman behind the bars to the right begs for help. A demon has kidnapped her and her little brothers. The pattern on the floor is a T-shape and facing the middle door, so I shoot the tiles above that door to make that shape, which opens the door. It leads to the outside where I can go right or left. I choose to jump across the platforms to the left but find myself blocked by some bars. so I climb over to the right instead. It leads to a lock, which I destroy to open the door to a red H shape. The tiles above the right door shine red when shot, so I make the shape above that door to open it. The woman says she and her brothers want to thank me, so they turn into enemies and try to kill me. Nothing new, just a pair of skull swordsmen and a green worm. Killing them raises this statue and allows me to pull these nearby switches. The statue contains bouncing darts, which bounce off walls, as shown with this nearby target behind a wall with a small opening next to it that I fail to hit. Instead I pull these switches to pull some stairs out of the wall. They recede so you have to climb them quickly. At the top I cut a rope to a lower part of a statue in the back of the room. I cut a rope behind the statue I broke to lower the middle section. I finally hit that target, which lowers a rope I can climb for another rope to cut, which lowers the left section. It reveals a purple O shape for the final door. I can cross the lowered statue pass to reach a lever that opens the bars from earlier, so I can stock up on slim burbles from the hole. I make the O to open up the last door. I'm treated to this green mess of a pattern on the floor. After taking out the enemies here, a crab hands and skull swordsman, I use a burble to blow up this cracked pillar and climb to a higher level. Then after killing more skull swordsmen, blow up another to reach even higher. After stocking up on more, I blow up a third pillar to reach a lever and more skull swordsmen to kill. Pulling the lever opens one set of tiles above the door I entered from. I blow up one more pillar to reach a cracked wall with a button next to it that pushes out a floor underneath it. I blow it up and it shines a light on the pattern on the floor to show me the pattern that opens the exit, so I copy it, which spawns a Glyph Key. Picking it up lets me leave. Meanwhile we see a cutscene of Set meeting with the Geb Queen. He's giving her the sacred crown of Uruk to keep safe. That's about it. Back outside, Eye Patch Guy congratulates me and tells me the Glyph Key will activate this Ankh firing point. He gives me a hint to deal with the Geb Queen, saying that other creatures may give me the opportunity I need to defeat her. I place the key and instead of teleporting to the Ankh the game pointed me towards, I fire at this one in the distance, not expecting it to actually work. In front of where it spawns me, I shoot a target to create some platforms. There's a tree creature that, in the weeks between recording the footage for the previous episode and this one, I'd forgotten how to fight and it kills me. Instead I just take the intended Ankh. In front of where it spawns me is a locked door. Nothing to do but warp to the first Ankh I tried using the intended firing point. I remember how to fight the tree creature this time and capture it, finishing monster list free. There's a green tablet here I have to take across the platform and plant on this switch to open a gate to the chest containing the gold key. I return to the locked door and use the key to get inside. The Geb Queen is stood there waiting for me. She jumps down from a throne and threatens to kill me. She's surrounded by a barrier and throws blue magic shit at me. Get too close and she starts spinning after me. She's pretty quick doing this and it's hard to outrun. The Shield of Osiris doesn't work on it either, the one time I remember it even exists. She'll also spit acid that forms into a large puddle on the floor. I can't figure out what to do until the blue magic hits me and turns me into a frog. I now jump up to the throne and press buttons that release spike spiders into the arena. Don't hang up here too long though or a laser will shoot you. The spiders will lunge for the queen and make her vulnerable if they connect. This gives me the chance to hit her. But this does kill the spider, so once they're both dead I have to get hit again and repeat the process. After she's hit 4 times, gates on either side of the arena will open and let skull swordsmen in. This is good in that killing them will get me health, but bad in that they can also kill the spiders themselves. In the end it takes 6 hits to finish her. With her dying words she just threatens that Set will kill me instead. Her death creates platforms to the throne and removes the statue firing lasers, letting me grab the sacred crown of Uruk. The voice speaks to Sphinx again, warning him of how dangerous this path is. It also says that the prophecy is beginning to be realised. I'm rewarded another gold Ankh for winning the fight too. Like the last boss I defeated, after the loading screen I'm sent straight back to Imhotep. He's very worried about Set becoming stronger as every moment passes. He tells me I should tell Anubis about Set's involvement. First I return to the collector at Bedouin Point to hand over those monsters. He gives me a gold Ankh piece as thanks. Next I return to Abydos to donate a skeletal spider to the museum. I return to the guy in town who got scammed on the lizard and he says he'll trade it for all 4 game medals, so I give him them. He thinks these will impress his girlfriend more than the goofy lizard he gives me in return. I hand it straight over to the museum. That was the last one. I've donated every animal in the game and completed the exhibit. My reward for this is the Master Hunter certificate and the knowledge that I don't have to stress over capturing any more monsters aside from the slim burbles and fire armadillos. I teleport back to Anubis and see what he has to say. He's very impressed to get the crown and actually talks to me with kindness for once. But he also knows Sphinx isn't strong enough to fight Set. He says Set is closer to his goal of destroying his brother Osiris. He then exposits a bit. At first, the only god that ruled over the world was Ra, who personified darkness and light in one. Osiris was the light and Set was the dark and it all worked fine, but Set was a dick and turned on Osiris. So if Set gathers all the crowns and destroys Osiris, the light will be fucked, and Set is growing strong while Osiris is on the verge of death. Next I have to return to the Cursed Palace and get the sacred crown of Heliopolis. He gives me the last 3 curse stones, saying they'll free the pharaoh while giving a mischievous laugh. But first I return to Bedouin Outpost again. I now have the money to buy the beetle satchel and increase my capture beetle capacity from 20 to 50. Now I go back to the Cursed Palace. First I free these 2 guys opposite the entrance in the main hallway. They thank Sphinx for freeing them, but they can't let him see the pharaoh without an invitation. Next I go into the left room to free this woman holding a fan. Her first thought is to worry where her dogs have gone. She can't go home to her sister in Abydos without them. One of them is right behind me. The only way to catch it is with a capture beetle. I don't have to beat it first though. I tried, it's immune. I hand him over, but there are still 2 dogs left to find. They're just elsewhere in the other rooms. Once I've returned them all, she thanks me with a canopic vase. I send it with Basquiat to Tut once more. This time there's also someone locked in a cage in the dungeon next to his corpse. He gets to watch Tut get revived. As you'd expect, he's shit scared of him. Luckily, someone left the key to the cage in the next room. Once I open it, he tries running away, but trips before realising he's being freed. He was accused of stealing jewels in the castle and locked away for my actions. He's Kensu, a native Urukite. These were mentioned last episode, but we never came across any then. Few Urukites remain, all surviving inside the castle and avoiding Set and his army since they know the region better than him. They can't stay here and Kensu tells Tut to follow him. He leads me to these big buttons that when pressed opens this door. The first thing through this door is a tunnel that electrifies me. I run around into this big room and drop down, but I can't find anything to use it on, just a load of wooden cages I can't burn. I'm surrounded by water on every end. I head to this switch in the back and pull it out. It raises the platforms to an electric device, but now I'm on a timer to climb back up to the previous floor, run back to the electric tunnel, then run back and jump across the platforms to it. I get it, but just activating this one does nothing yet. I head to the back right corner and go through this hallway where I'm set on fire. I can backtrack out the hallway and burn a single cage for 5 onyx scarabs. As for the room after the fire pit, there's ladders moving across a pool of water with more water streams coming out of the walls. I drop down below and pull a lever to turn one off and another on. There are 3 of these and I continue pulling them all to give myself a safe gap that I can pass through without getting wet. At the end, when I get off the ladder, I can burn 2 cages for another 20 onyx scarabs and up the ladder, a fence to reach a lever. This one raises the floor out of the water in the main room and connects 2 corners, in this case back right to front right. This lets me burn 3 more cages for a combined 25 more onyx scarabs, plus the one up the ladder for 15 more. Next I pull the lever in the centre back of the room, which raises some platforms to a device in the back left corner. I run through this tunnel with the shadowy aura on it. It leads to a chest containing the 5th stolen Abydos jewel. Opening it reveals statues that turn me into the bat. I fly up to hit the switch opening the gate in front of me and continue down the hallway. It leads to this room with 4 more rooms connected to it. I take the one on the right, hit a switch to open a gate and keep moving. I hit another to open a gate into this big room with a snake statue with water flowing through. A switch on the statue's forehead shuts the door and stops the water flow. This also turns off one of the water streams on the left side of the main room. There's a pair of switches on the floor on the way out to open gates that I can walk through normally. Next I take the tunnel on the left and do pretty much the same thing to turn another stream off. Once again there are switches on the floor to make path for the mummy. The 2 middle ones lead to the same path. I dodge the back cancelling lasers to hit another switch and turn off the final stream. That's all for this area and it's back to the main room. With the water streams gone, I can now take the electricity to this next device without losing it. I pull the lever again to open a path to a final device from the back right corner and bring electricity to that one too. Activating all 3 devices gets the thing above it spinning. So now I can grab on and ride it to the other side of the room. Here is a chest containing the royal invitation Sphinx needs to see the pharaoh. That's Tut's role done and he dies again. Basquiat returns to Sphinx and hands over the jewel, onyx scarabs and invitation. Also, while I was with Tut, the woman left but also left the dogs behind. Now I have the invitation, the guards will let me pass and open the door. In this room is a slot for the final curse stone. The pharaoh is freed and we see he does have the sacred crown of Heliopolis. We also figure out exactly why Anubis cursed the palace in the first place. The pharaoh's a dick. He grabs the crown and runs off with it. I chase him through a door, down a spiral slope and down this rope, then through these catacombs into this obvious boss arena. He believes Sphinx is too ignorant to wield the crown. He's working with Set, and Anubis tried and failed before to take the crown, so he just stoned the entire palace instead. He transforms into a big spider for my 3rd boss battle. He'll run after me and try whacking me. He'll also slam the ground to make rocks fall from the ceiling. He can grab me if I get too close, crush me and then throw me away. I have to stun him by throwing the fallen rocks at him, giving me the chance to hit him. But spike spiders are here too and can grab me, making me miss my chance before he recovers. After hitting him, he starts shooting fire from his hands as well. I just repeat this strategy and 5 hits kill him. Like the Geb Queen, he uses his last moments to tell Sphinx that Set will totally kill him because he's the best. He explodes and leaves behind the sacred crown of Heliopolis. The Knight talks to Sphinx again, just telling him he's doing well and giving him another gold Ankh. Meanwhile, we return to Tutankhamun already. More Urakites have found the dungeon and have brought a canopic vase of their own. One of them is Sobek, the Urakite chief. Kensu told them all about Tut and how he works. They found the canopic vase in the castle and believes he is the only one who can free their land of Set. They think he can deactivate that ray that has been making it so hard to approach Set. They escort Tut to the place this can be done, but can't go any further themselves. I go through the doorway which closes behind me. I go to the left where I see a wooden cage and some fire and I get an idea. But the fire is actually lava and it destroys me and makes me respawn. So I take the right path to a room with some cages, statues spitting water, and I drop down to even more water. Dropping down into the left of the entrance leads to a switch that raises a floor by a wall. I enter the doorway in front of that floor and follow it to a chest containing the 6th and final stolen Abydos jewel. Opening it sets off flamethrowers. On the way back through the hallway I burn a cage for 20 onyx scarabs. Turns out that floor was on a timer though and since went down, making me lose the fire. Instead I take the other exit in this room. There's just an electrical device. I get the floor back up and use the fire to burn the supports for these blocks to form some stairs back up to the entrance. I burn the 2 cages by said entrance to 30 more onyx scarabs. Back in the lava room I burn the cage by the entrance to 15 more. While on fire I can cross the lava to the opposite end and burn another cage for another 15. Through this doorway is a switch that opens a door at the end of a hall of lasers. Touching the lasers closes the door, so I have to time myself to get past them when they blink out. Behind the door is a lever that raises some platforms in the lava. I climb the nearby ladder and run through some more lasers to activate a device that electrifies me. I can drop down to the left back in the lava room to activate a device that extends a bridge across the section I just dropped from. I head back up and go across and into the next room, avoiding being crushed. I drop down below this bridge and jump across some boxes to activate another device. This activates a fan somewhere I haven't been yet. Next to the device is a ladder leading to a lever that covers the bars by this room's exit so I can reach the fan while crushed. But first I return to the water room and while on fire, sneak past the statue spitting water to burn some crates. I then come back electrified and sneak along some more so I can drop down and activate the first device I saw to turn another fan on. Next I can get crushed and float across the first fan. To the left is something I can't pass and straight ahead is the second fan. The second gives me 2 choices, left or ahead. I choose left first to find a lever that turns on this thing somewhere else. I take the other path to reach said thing and get turned into a black mist by it. I backtrack between the 2 fans and activate the spiked floor blocking the exit, but as mist I can just walk through it and enter the doorway. There's a chest here that when I approach, it opens a trapdoor that gets me cut in 3 on the way. The mechanism that powers the ray is here too with 3 levers surrounding it. I position all 3 tuts of the levers and pull them all. They each raise a platform with a button on it. Jump on all 3 and it raises 3 more spinning platforms. Once again jump on all 3. 3 more platforms raise closer to the ray, so I jump on all 3 again. This finally deactivates the ray, allowing me to jump for the crown that was powering it. However, we have finally been caught by Set and Menes. Set paralyzes Tut and tells Menes to activate the ray again. However, the crown is gone and the ray cannot be powered up as much as it was. Set doesn't care, as even weaker, the ray should give us protection until he finds a solution. Basket watches this, hidden away and having already claimed the items from Tut. Meanwhile, Sphinx returns to Imhotep's and Basket hands everything over. The final onyx scarabs in the game, the sacred crown of Set, and the 6th stolen Abydos jewel. Imhotep says that now I have the last 2 crowns, I should take them to Anubis. But he warns that once I leave for the final battle, it will be a point of no return, so this is my last chance to tie up any loose ends. First I return to Abydos to return the last 2 stolen jewels to the museum. I get a gold Ankh piece for each of these, giving me enough for another health upgrade. Now it's time for something I was told about but forgot about completely until now. Farming. In Heliopolis, outside the farmer's brother's tent, there are 16 plots of land. Only 2 of these have proper rewards, but for 100% I'm going to plant them all. I choose the first one nearest from the house and the brothers get to work. It takes 300 seconds to get results from 1 plot, not including the time it takes the farmers to walk to that plot and the time to walk back to the tent. That's 300 in-game seconds by the way, so things that interfere with the in-game clock like loading screens don't count. There are 16 plots at 6 in-game minutes each, so that's an hour and 36 minutes minimum, not counting the farmers slow walking and any loading screens. While that's going on, I return to Shetta, a Bedouin outpost, to use my gold Ankh pieces to increase my health. I'm just missing 4 pieces now. One of them is the final purchase to use my onyx scarabs on. The 150 it costs leave me with 15 leftover onyx scarabs I can't spend on anything. After enough time has passed, there'll be a small tree to signify that the farmers are done. While working on the first plot they found 50 scarabs. I set them on the second plot. 6 in-game minutes later, the second plot is done and they found a bronze Ankh, the basic one that refills a bit of health. Plot 3 next. Once that one's done, they found 200 scarabs. Plot 4 set. In this one they find a gold Ankh piece. Plot 5 set. Plot 5 contains a silver Ankh, just another healing pickup. Plot 6 set. Plot 6 gets me 400 scarabs. I set plot 7 and get to Heliopolis Point. I buy the 600 scarab dart belt at the shop next to the Onyx Scarab shop. This increases my capacity for all darts to 50. Plot 7 is pathetic, just 10 scarabs. I set plot 9 thinking it was plot 8. Plot 9 gets me 20 capture beetles. I set plot 8 for real this time. Plot 8 gets me 100 scarabs. I set plot 10. Plot 10 gets me 600 scarabs. Plot 11 next. Plot 11 gets me 20 scarabs. Plot 12 set. Plot 12 just gets me another silver Ankh. Plot 13 next. While messing about, I finally find my last unaccounted for gold Ankh piece, since I know where the last one is. Between the two zip lines that take me to the first obstacle course, I go left to find a fence I can burn with a fire armadillo to reach a chest containing it. Just one more to go now. Plot 13 gets me 200 scarabs. Plot 14 is set. At this point, the added walking there and back is extending this thing to over 12 minutes per cycle. Plot 14 gets me 10 scarabs. Plot 15 next. Plot 15 gets me the final gold Ankh piece in the game. That's the final collectible item. But there's still plot 16 to plant too. While that's going on, I run back to Rosetta to get my final gold Ankh, giving me a full set of health, 12 Ankhs. When I say final collectible, this does mean I've also collected every unused Atonai and burned every permanently burned wooden cage in the game too. And the final plot of land gets me 500 scarabs. That's everything possible completed in both Abydos and Heliopolis. If only some plots didn't glitch and refuse to show the tree. Now I can return to Anubis with the 2 crowns. Anubis reckons these should give Osiris enough power to manifest again, and it does. Osiris appears as a ball of light and introduces himself. He says he built the Great Wall to prevent his own destruction at Set's hands, and Anubis was his guardian, protecting the wall for eons. The last thing Sphinx has to do to fulfill the prophecy is to travel to the castle of Uruk and kick Set's head in. Anubis could face Set, but that would leave the wall unprotected, so it has to be Sphinx, and so Osiris transports him there. In Uruk there's a teleporter to the castle, but it's guarded by a ray that destroys any living creature it detects. The ray sweeps side to side along the ground and I have to avoid it by hiding behind objects. Also, now that I've saved, I'm stuck here and can't return. I just have to rush forward to this rock here and hope the ray doesn't go off first. It takes a few attempts. I use a slim burble to blast down a nearby pillar to hide behind too. The next and final pillar also uses up my last slim burble. With this pillar protecting me, I can run for the final save statue and the teleporter. This puts me face to face with Set. After some posturing, he shows off that he has Tutankhamun still frozen in the position we last saw him in. He dives backwards into the lava and emerges in his true form. I fight him in a circular arena with Set in the middle. One attack he has is to hold out both arms and shoot fire out while spinning. After that he raises his metal fences and lowers himself in one section to create lasers that travel around the arena. Just jump over them. While doing this I have to make my way to Set and cut him in the forehead. Can't forget to mention these invincible machines that hop after me and deal damage on contact too. Set sinks into the lava and throws out these fiery balls. They explode when I get close to cause a small shockwave that's easily dodged. Then the pattern repeats, but now the lasers alternate between needing to be jumped over and ran under. I hit him again. His next set of lasers has small openings I have to jump through, so now I have to get my positioning right as well. Not to mention these red hot glowing damage spaces on the floor. I get my third hit in. The fourth cycle has a wide flat laser that covers a large section of the floor. Only a very precise double jump can clear it. I get a fourth hit in. Next he repeats his first version of the attack, but the lasers move faster. 5 hits. Then comes a sped up second cycle. I get to him and get my 6th and final hit in, finishing him. Set explodes and Tut is lowered to Sphinx. Basket and Imhotep show up too to congratulate Sphinx. Set is weakened but cannot be truly destroyed. Balance of light and dark, good and evil and all that. Anubis appears and says that Osiris can now unite with Set to reform Ra and restore balance to the kingdom, which is what then happens. The prophecy has been fulfilled and Ra recognises the efforts of both our main characters. Sphinx will be remembered forever, while Tutankhamun can be given the final canopic vase to regain his life and his true form. He's overjoyed and runs for the vase, but he trips and destroys it. Imhotep says not to worry as there are sure to be other ways to change him back, possibly in other worlds, setting up for a sequel that sadly never happened because this game didn't sell well on its initial release. And that's a shame, because Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy is a good game. I had a lot of fun playing it. I will admit that it's clear there was a lot of content cut for time or budget. There were supposed to be 2 more large areas, not just Abydos and Heliopolis. Not to mention seemingly important characters like Nefertiti and Horus just disappearing from the game early on. And there's some little movement quirks typical of the era, getting stuck on the very edges of objects for example. But it had a very strong visual aesthetic and it gets as much out of the smaller game world as it possibly could, with a lot to do. If you love the 3D Zelda formula and have an interest in seeing it through an ancient Egyptian aesthetic, this is for you. I can see why this game has gathered a cult following over the years. I really wish we could have seen where this game could go as a series.